Hey y'all, welcome to episode number 4 of SwampTalk podcast. We got some good folks on the panel tonight, and we're going to be talking about gunsmithing. What is gunsmithing, and is it actually important? Hey y'all, let me introduce some of the folks on our panel for tonight. We got Chris with Mad Custom Arms.
Hey, how y'all doing?
We got Rich, the one and only Hoff with BWE Firearms.
How's everybody doing this evening?
And then we got the other Rich, the flying Rich that sometimes crashes.
Really? You're going to go there?
I thought it was the crashing Rich that sometimes flies.
Hey man, the best landing is one you can walk away from. Remember that.
A crash is still a landing.
Exactly.
They're called crash landings.
And then we got Silverback Bananas.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing tonight?
Then we got my buddy, Shooting Gallery New England.
What's crack?
Is that the Joe Juice you're drinking?
Trying to pull off a Stone Cold
this
intro.
is Broken Skull IPA. Okay. Yeah, exactly.
And then we got our other Christian Nelson from X7 Studios, also Team Tusk shooting team.
What's going on, y'all? Hope you're all having a good night. Drink up.
And then not
It's
to
Thursday Fun Day.
downplay you, bro.
Team Tusk.
And we Shooting Gallery New England's also the newest member of Team Tusk. So yeah, how y'all doing tonight?
Good.
Doing great.
That's good. But yeah, tonight
Wonderful.
we're going to talk about gunsmithing, and everybody here does some type of gunsmithing. So I
I
figure
own a
y'all
hammer.
have a little bit of and a Dremel, right?
What's a Dremel?
Oh, God, Rich.
This
I
is
got
going
this
well.
vice back here. I mean, does
So
that
well.
make me a gunsmith?
Only if you hit it with a big hammer.
No,
Well-
wait. Is it Team Tusk on the bottom and it's Gunsmiths on the top?
Yep. We shoot them, they make them. It's great.
Well,
Or we
technically,
Oh, wait.
Tank, we shoot them, or we make them and we shoot them.
That is true.
Wait, Joe's a gunsmith? Sorry, it's like we're in a minority here and Scott's training to be a gunsmith.
Mm-hmm.
Well, every gunsmith is training, no matter what they're
Yeah.
doing.
No matter how long you do it,
How
you're
long
still
they get
training.
at it. They're still learning.
Yep, that's one of the best quotes that I've heard from any gunsmithing thing is all gunsmiths are still training until the day they die.
Yep.
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the same with any industry, any trade that you get into, because there's always something new coming out, something that you haven't done, that
Or
you're
something
learning to do,
old you
know.
didn't know.
Right.
Mhm.
Yep. Exactly.
Or
I mean,
forgot.
there's always things
Yes.
to learn every day. So
Like Rich, I know you're old, you know.
Damn.
Mhm.
That's it.
Well, and you did get the new scoop about, some new info before anybody else did that got shared. So, we won't
He's
go.
going hard.
Woo, man, Rich, you're a little quiet, man. You getting me worried.
I'm sorry, Rich. I'm on chemo drugs, so
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
He's got the good
The
stuff.
shit that I can't touch and I have to keep in the plastic bag.
But it goes inside you. That's fine.
But it goes through
Yeah.
your body, fine, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to touch the pills. I have to pour them into the cap and then down them. And it's like,
'Cause it's-
wait a minute, I can't touch them, but I can put them in my mouth. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's a
don't put
little-
them in your mouth if they're broken.
holy shit.
Oh shit.
Well, at least they don't have to go in the other way.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yee.
Ooh, yeah, yeah.
How would you do that without touching it?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Hey, I'm sure he's got some needle nose pliers.
Yeah.
Hey, that's all right.
Where's the forceps?
Yeah, my wife would help me with a blowgun.
Yeah.
Bend over and circle.
We'll just use some hemostats for it.
Hey.
Yeah. Hey, I don't recognize the guy over here because usually he's got a hat and all kitted out. I'm like,
Oh, okay. You want me to?
Yeah, I didn't recognize him at first when he came on. I'm used to seeing him in his hat.
Okay, yeah. The one day I picked no hair,
Oh.
no hat. It's just I had to let it go. I had a long day of wearing
What is
a
going on?
hat, so I'm good. Fine, bro.
All right, say- All right, well,
Yeah.
while you're getting ready, we'll go ahead and start the actual topics of tonight. But yeah, for y'all that's out there in the chat, I want to do a couple of shout outs real quick. We got Ting Ting out there. And we got Mrs. Swamp Dog out in the chat.
What's going on?
Joe
Mrs.
Morgan.
Swamp? What's going on, Ting Ting?
Howdy.
Man Against the Masses says, I'm not a Smith, but I have guns.
I thought it was, I'm not a smith, but I have a hammer.
I mean, if all else fails, hit it with a hammer.
Yep.
Right.
If that doesn't work, get a bigger one.
That's right.
We got Robert
How many
Ribbit
times I hit
Harrison
stuff
out
with
in
a
the
hammer
chat.
on a daily basis?
I do it all the time.
You always have to have a BFH in your toolbox.
Mm-hmm. I think I've got 3 of them here. So just in case one of them breaks.
Yeah.
Of course, if I hit it hard enough to break that hammer, something's really bad.
I drive finishing nails with a lump hammer.
I got a hammer at my bench here and a hammer at my bench over there, and they always both wind up sitting right next to each other over there.
Yep. Oh,
And then
yeah.
we got Mr. Snow Makes out in the chat.
Hey,
A
Mr.
former
Snow.
guest on the show. He said he's more than a part swapper, that's for sure.
Damn.
So, quick question for those that's in the
fixed
panel. Are any of y'all familiar with the meaning and or reason behind the term gunsmith?
I'm assuming it came from blacksmith.
Mhm. Silversmith,
that's very true.
blacksmith.
I just thought it was a man named Smith holding a gun.
Yeah.
And why is he black?
No, it was a man named Gun holding a Smith.
But yeah, going into that, the term blacksmith, which started all of it, comes from black being a term for black iron or wrought iron, and manufacturing it themselves in the foundries, forging, all that process, it's smelting and all of that is where the smithing comes from, and it comes from Greek, but I forgot the exact Greek word that it comes from, but that basically means working black iron. Now you
I
take
thought
that to
blacksmith was because you're black at the end of the day.
That's not a cause. That's an effect.
Sorry.
But yeah, taking it a step further from blacksmithing, when the very first gunsmiths started back in 1400s, 1500, once gunpowder was invented, a gunsmith had to be able to have the skills to make every single part of what would become a gun themselves. They had to be a woodworker. They had to be a metalsmith, being able to work the metal and then back then create the metal. They had to have the fine skills of a jeweler or a locksmith. So the term gunsmith encompasses someone that has some of those trade skills from the various different arts or trades, if you will, and putting them into this certain type of project that we call firearms.
Cool.
All right, well, that's good to know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I guess I got to
So-
go back to school.
But yeah, and
What I need to know is what are the minimum requirements to be considered a gunsmith?
Screwdrivers.
Hey,
But is it a
You
special
just
kind of
need one.
screwdriver?
I think
one
those answers
screwdriver
might be
and a
in here
hammer.
somewhere.
You got to have that book.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I got 2 of these books.
what on earth is that?
I'll be honest. I don't know. Maybe Hoff will correct me if I'm wrong, and Chris will correct me if I'm wrong. But probably the best asset for a gunsmith is going
I'm
to
jealous
be
about that book.
references, whether it's books or videos and things online in today's reference library.
Man, I'd have to say that yes, the references are great. It helps you to understand certain aspects of guns that you're working on, and perhaps even the older style guns that you get in here. But at some point, there comes a certain level of skill that you have to maintain to be able to do anything.
Yeah.
And if you just don't understand how the workings of a firearm is,
You're not
Don't
going to
touch
make
it.
it.
don't even start messing with it, because you got to understand something. You've got an explosion taking place 3 inches from your face. Okay. And when it comes right down to it, regardless of whether you do it professionally or intermediately, do you really want to take that chance in injuring yourself or somebody else around you?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, it's just not worth it. I get guns in here that are antiques, that are old, that are busted up. I even had one come into my shop the other day that, it was a Colt style, like a clone. It didn't have any markings whatsoever on it, and the guy wanted me to restore it. And when I looked at the firearm itself, you could physically see the frame and the barrel was actually bent off of itself, off of its own center line. And I looked at that guy and I said, look, I am not even going to mess with this gun. And I said, for one, we don't have no idea what brand this is. This is a copy of a Colt. All right. Now, regardless of what brand it is, you can get Colt parts and probably make it work. But because this barrel is already bent to the frame, we don't know if the barrel's bent or if the frame's bent.
Yeah.
Okay. And to be honest with you, you'd be able to buy another gun cheaper.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't want the liability of it.
No.
And in most cases, people won't realize that is what it takes sometimes. Sometimes it's okay to say no. Don't take the job.
Yeah.
Don't risk damaging yourself, the gun, somebody else just for a quick buck. It's not worth it.
No.
Right. And it'll damage more than just you if you give back somebody a bad gun, because it's going to damage your reputation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And if you're doing that kind of work, you make damn sure you charge for it.
Oh yeah.
I got guys, they'll bring a, single barrel shotgun in. oh, I want it restocked and I want this and I want that. That's a $2,000 bill, dude. You know,
Yeah.
go buy a nice over and under.
Right. I mean, one of the things that I get in here is especially with those orders.
To do that.
Yeah, especially with the guns that come in that are just outdated. That in most cases we can't even find parts for, and the gun itself isn't worth $50.
Right.
I literally tell the guy, I say, hey, I require a $500 deposit before I log this gun in.
Yep.
Okay, because I want to make sure that I get my money for it. Because I've got a drawer full of guns that when I first started out, I thought, everybody was sentimental about their firearms. Yeah. One thing I learned about sentimental is that it ain't sentimental until you get the bill.
Yeah,
right.
Hell yeah.
And, I've got 5-gallon buckets sitting over here in the corner of grandpa's shotgun that was sentimental to somebody at one point. Yep. And when I get it in here, I literally do like a quote for it and say, okay, here's how much it's going to cost to rebuild this gun. And then they go, oh, wow, I was not expecting that. I said, well, what do you want me to do with it? And they would tell me, just keep it. And I'm like, I have no use for it.
Yeah.
So what it turns into being is just parts kit or just parts guns. It's just all it is just if something comes in and I need a part, then I just go to those buckets and I start looking around. And so one of the things that I've learned about this, and I've been gunsmithing now over 30 years, and sentimental isn't sentimental at all.
No.
And it's in most cases I try to be as honest with the customers I possibly can. I will tell them straight up, buy a new gun.
Yeah. Because
it is not worth my time to sit here and hope that you're going to be upfront and honest with me when it comes time to redelivering the product.
Mm-hmm.
So
yep, I think that's something that's very important too, is getting the customers to understand that some things aren't worth it. Now, on the other hand, you have someone that might want to do some totally off the wall rainbow and unicorns on a one-of-one engraved Luger or something like that. But if you're willing to pay for it, I mean,
we do pink and purple rainbow penises all the time in here. So I mean, it works out really well. But that's the beauty of it all. When we're doing custom work, we charge whatever we want.
Yeah, hear me out, bro. I just hear me out. It's a CZ unicorn gun, dude. All right. It's gonna be pretty as fuck. Oh man.
Yeah,
dude,
I know exactly what you're saying.
75 came back. This CC75 came back from my grandfather in World War II. They didn't make one in World War II. Dude, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
but he took it off a dead Japanese in Germany.
Yeah. And I mean, we get people coming in all the time asking about, hey, I wanted to get my car completely repainted, and then you give them that quote. Well, this is what it's going to take, and they're like, "Oh my god, I couldn't believe it cost so much."
Yeah,
and they're like, "But it's got sentimental value. Is there anything you can do for me?" No, I'm sorry if you can't.
Yeah, I charge double.
No, my time has sentimental value.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. One thing that's actually a pretty critical point is because a lot of gunsmithing shit on YouTube as it is already heavily restricted. So a lot of your normal everyday fucking users, your fucking once a fucking 3-month shooter is not gonna understand what that whole process and what it took for you to learn how to do that process and everything else to get to that fucking point.
Yeah.
People draw this line because they don't understand what's between that line. What it took you to get you there.
Right.
It's for example, like when I offer my video services to some clients and shit. You're not only paying for just the service, you're paying as well as for experience.
Intellectual properties.
Yeah, exactly. Intellectual property, your method, your strategy to how you do things and everything
else.
Your experience.
Oh, hell yeah.
And that's what a lot of people don't seem to understand one-to-one. So I would say, unfortunately, it's a bit of like an ignorance on the people's part who have that sentimental value towards guns and shit. And then they don't have the buck to back it up, which happens. Yeah. It happens a lot because it's like you think that in your mind, like Oh,
I
man,
deal with
dude,
that on the
then
regular.
I can just polish this gun. Like, all you gotta do is rub a cloth over it, and all of a sudden the gun is perfect. And it's like, sure, dude.
Even what I work in, we have people, saying, "Oh, well, it's just that easy, right?" And then trying to tell us how to do our job. So I had an idea some years ago about how about I open up a DIY body shop, and I'll just be there to kind of coach people along and let them fix their own cars.
Yeah.
Dude, that'd be the best YouTube channel ever.
Man, there's actually a
It'd be
garage
funny.
like
There you
that.
go.
There's a garage like that in Florida. It's called Fix It Yourself garages or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Really?
you just pay for the materials, and I'll coach you along, and you can do all the work yourself and see how easy it is.
I think that'd be actually a really interesting thing. That's why I like a lot of those classes, which unfortunately I haven't seen many more of. Is a lot of those like gunsmithing classes, and then you go to I don't know what exactly they call it. Because I've seen like some videos where people go and learn how to build their own AK from straight to the fucking receiver all the way to the end of it, etc. I just wish there was more stuff like that around.
Yep.
Well,
Brandon
you're
Herrera
talking about a
actually did
build
one
Build
party.
class.
Build party, yes. That's. I feel like if once we get more of that out there, more people can be more educated towards that.
Well, I don't know. Back me up on this. I don't remember because I don't do them at all. But at some point, a couple of years back, there used to be build parties, and the ATF kind of
ATF squashed that.
kind of squashed it, and now it's kind of black market type of build parties. Now they just don't advertise them anymore. I mean, you can still find them. They're just not publicized as much as they used to be. So
Yeah.
Okay, that's the very first point. So then that still ends up in the same realm of what I was talking about before, is a matter of restriction. So again, number one being there's no gunsmithing video, or not as much, or as at least like very, very little gunsmithing videos online, such as YouTube, or immediately accessible resources. And then two is obviously the ATF and shit.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to online videos, I mean there are videos out there. I mean, hell, what was it, Sonora Institute, something, or then you got American Gunsmithing Institute. I mean, they're all videos, gunsmithing courses and things like that, and they're okay. I mean, it's the only issue that you're going to have with them is that you got to be motivated to sit through them.
Yeah,
okay?
Exactly. Like you have to go out of your way.
If you don't have the gun that they're referring to in front of you, you have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay, and so it's something that you really have to want to sit through and look at. And I actually started. I got some videos from AGI back when the videos just came out and they were on VHS.
Yeah,
I
had that set too.
I mean, it was a long time ago, and I started looking at them. And what was funny about it is that all of the guns that were listed on those videos, I had already worked on.
Yeah,
every single one that were on them videos, I had already been through the trials and tribulations of trying to figure out what was wrong with it before I even saw the video on it. So, and so the only thing that I learned from those videos were the numbers. Okay, it had nothing to do with how to take the gun apart or put it back together. It was learning like spring tension, extractor tension. I mean, things like that. Just poundages and weights and things like that for different springs and things like that. But other than that, somebody who doesn't know anything about firearms, yes, it would probably be a helpful tool for somebody who's trying to get into the market at a more cost effective way. But hell, I've seen the AGI videos now with the DVDs. Oh my God, them things! You might as well just go to college because you're paying a college fee just to get those videos now. So they have just gone crazy through the roof with the pricing on those videos now. So there's no way I would have gotten them.
You're much better off just going to a gunsmith school for 18 months than paying for those videos.
Well, it's funny you say that because I actually there's two schools right around. Well, actually, there's three in my area, but I live in North Carolina, and I've got there's a Fayetteville Tech, which is about 20 miles from me. There's Troy Community College, which is Montgomery Community College for gunsmithing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Piedmont Community College, which is up in Roxborough.
Yeah.
And I've had some of the students come in here to just kind of get a more of a hands-on experience in the real world versus the classroom.
Yeah.
And it's night and day. They look at what they're doing in the classroom there, and then they come in here and they're like, man, we don't do none of this stuff. And most of them don't even, they know how to run the machinery and stuff like that, but they don't know the basic principles of certain methods of fixing a gun.
No.
And I'm like, you're supposed to, that you would think they would know how to do in the classroom. And
no,
like, what in the world
they don't teach it.
What are they
teaching? I went to Pennsylvania Gunsmith School in the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
and the owner, Chief, I was talking to him the one day, and he said, look, when we'll give you a certificate when you graduate that says Master Gunsmith.
Mm-hmm.
He said, take that certificate, forget about it. Go work full-time as a gunsmith for 20 years. Then you can start calling yourself a master gunsmith. He said, what we teach you is the basics.
Right.
Yep.
We give you a good base to start with. We teach you how to use the machines. We teach you how to do refinishing. The rest is up to you to learn.
Right. Exactly. And that basically is what it comes down to when someone's starting out. It's like I said earlier. I mean, they've got to want to do it.
Yeah.
And if they don't have a desire to want to do it, then anything that they do up to this point is just wasting their time, and whoever else is involved with it. It's you're not going to get rich at this.
No,
that's for sure. That's for sure. This is
when I was in gunsmith school, I talked to back then it was all the big guys, Clark, all those guys. And I said, okay, what's the deal? You've made it. What's the deal? And they said, look, you can make a living gunsmithing.
Yeah.
You sure as hell ain't going to get rich. They said, you put your time in, you make a reputation, then you start making parts. Parts is where you can get rich.
Right.
Yeah.
They said that's where you make all the money, is making production parts. And it's true. I make a hell of a lot more money making Uzi parts than I do gunsmithing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm trying to get at. I'm kind of stuck right now with trying to keep the lights on. So I am a manufacturer, but I don't get to manufacture.
Right.
So,
yeah. It's hard to make that step.
yeah.
And right now I'm a one-man shop. I got my son who's getting ready to start helping me out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, so I'm sitting here now, okay, how do I make that next step into being able to produce more, being able to, get more stuff done? And it's like, if I move into a building and get equipment, that's $5,000 a month right there down the tubes.
And that's where I am right now. I'm dealing with that. And it's funny you say your son's helping you. I've actually got 4 boys, and none of them want anything to do with this. They just want to
yeah, he's kind of, oh, I want to be a gunsmith. I want to come out and help you. Well, you know where the damn door is. Come on out. And, he's inside.
Yeah.
Like this.
So and there was a time where, I actually have an apprentice now, but there was a time where I was actually opening the doors for any of the disabled vets to come in, because I got Fort Bragg right down the road from us.
Yep.
And I let some of the disabled vets come in, and if they wanted to learn anything, we used to open door here. I mean, if you want to come in and learn something, by all means, come in. You can look over my shoulder and see what we do. And it was fun there for a while, and then it just got to a point where I was getting tied up with trying to teach somebody and not getting the work done.
Yeah.
So Richard, would it be beneficial for you to get a project for your son? Say, hey, here's a kit, build it.
Well, the funny thing you say it like that, yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny because my oldest son, and I've actually built guns for my boys. Okay, and the oldest of them, I built a 10 mil long slide, 1911. Okay, but he wanted to help build the gun. All right, now I was going to build that gun for me, but then he said he wanted it, and so we did a father son project together, and we built the gun together. Well, he's got the gun now, and that was actually the gun that I took out to the Iraq vet shoot this past October, and I wanted to show him and everything. So. And then I've got the other boys. I've done an AR and AK, and I've got another 1911 double stack 1911 that I was going to build for myself. And then my youngest son saw that gun and was like, "Hey, Dad, I'd like to have that gun."
Yeah.
so now we're going to build that gun together. And
nice. Yeah, see, I've been starting off small. See, I took the classes for Modern Gun School, and luckily enough, most of the guns that have been in the books, I've had a chance to get my hands on and actually go through them as I'm going through the lessons. So, and I reference videos, and I talk to some other gunsmiths that I know that kind of give me some pointers and things like that, and that's been really helpful. And then I'm starting to kind of build some of my own stuff. I know really ARs aren't really building stuff, but
No.
I mean, you're going through the trials and tribulations of putting it together and making sure the thing works and cycles properly. And then if you're trying to fine tune it, trying to figure out your buffer spring weights and your buffer tube weights and what kind of muzzles you want on it and things of that nature. I mean, ARs are really easy to put together and get running.
Right.
I mean, not everybody can do it, but if you got a little bit of mechanical skills, you can make it work.
Right.
But it is nice, like you said, to be able to have, while you're learning, the gun you're learning to fix, to have one to be able to take it apart and put it back together and test fire it and make sure it still functions and things like that. And the reference points are always great too, but it's always nice to have an experienced gunsmith to talk to give you some pointers to put you in the right direction as well too, because that's how you gain experience. You can have a great library of stuff, books on gunsmithing, but it's also good to know people that can help you along as well.
Right.
Yep.
Man, I will say one thing, especially in terms of accessibility to resources and materials. One thing, especially that I kind of grew really fond of, was a channel called Forgotten Weapons, which I'm sure you guys all know of.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
That's one thing that I would say that honestly I'm really, really happy to support, especially behind, to be able to kind of create like some sort of database for majority of firearms out there. So one thing about that would be, especially to add, because I feel like there's a bit of a gun culture problem, especially and I feel like it holds back a lot of gunsmithing as it is currently. And that is honestly, well, unfortunately, I think Eugene Stoner made the perfect fucking weapon because nobody wants to look at anything else besides an AR-15.
Well,
so that is a very fundamental concern.
Yeah,
I mean, I know that AKs are picking up and all sorts of other shit, but I just want to kind of be real for a second to kind of acknowledge a bit of the gun culture that seems to hold back a lot of development,
right,
and a lot of what seems to be innovative. Because anytime you get something new out there, you have to like convince every fucking guy out there that it's better than their AR-15 or their fucking Desert Eagle or something insane.
Right.
Well, and everybody, it's like anything else. They all want to buy the disposable guns.
That's the other silly part about it. It's just, man, that's why for me, I can't understand the concept of, at least for me personally, I can't understand the concept of selling a gun. At least for me personally. Reason being is when I go out of my way to purchase and invest my dollars in purchasing a firearm and everything, I intend to learn that firearm inside and out, how it works, how it runs, etc. Even disassembly, even its history. I have a huge fascination for gunsmithing and its history, so I've studied it for a long time. I mean, granted, you throw me on a lathe, I'm not gonna know what the fuck I'm doing. Okay, I'm not.
I don't either. It's okay.
I'm not. But you know what the other issue is, especially which I keep driving back to, is especially the lack of accessible resources to all of us. I'm going to be real with you for a second. Like, we all talk about SDI, we all talk about other institutions and everything, but we have to consider the main thing, and the main concern is that through mainstream means, there's no way to access this content. So lazy motherfuckers and shit like that ain't going to go out of their way to go look up how to check the spacing on an M2 Browning or something. You know what I mean?
No, definitely not.
They're not going to. And part of that is also, I hate to say it, the gun culture. You know, the gun culture holds itself in such a regard that it's like anything new, fuck that. We're gonna hold it at such a high level of scrutiny and at such a high level of criticism and skepticism that we're gonna automatically assume it's not gonna work and it's gonna blow up in your face. You know?
Well,
Glad you touched on that, because that was one of the things I was wanting to bring up about how new stuff and innovating things, anytime someone does try to bring something out, it's like you said, it's almost like the gun culture or the gun community wants to just automatically crap on it just because it's different from what they're used to.
Can I just add one thing really quick? One thing I kind of noticed when I went to the BDU shoot, and then I saw the FK Burno, and I had everybody talking to me about that shit. Because, okay, look, I work out in the fucking wilderness, out in the boonies sometimes. Yeah, I might deal with bears. I might deal with people. I might deal with everything. So I'm looking for at least something that's, pretty nice caliber to deal with such. And everyone kept pointing me at the FK Burno. And I'm like, okay, let me go fucking check out what this fucking thing is that everybody's going crazy about. One thing I noticed especially was that everybody held it at such a level of skepticism, and they didn't even touch the gun yet. None of them touched the gun yet, and I could literally hear.
How much is that thing?
It's like $7,000.
Yeah, it's expensive.
That's why I'm laughing.
Expensive. It's not this and that shit, and bro, that shit to me is fucking stupid. Okay, I hate to say it. It's an unfortunate thing that this gun culture has really absorbed really well. Is a high level of ignorance to that shit. It's like, yo, let's try something new. Let's check it out. Yeah, is it worth investing $3,000 in a handgun, alien gun, whatever it was called? That's another
Lago alien.
Yeah, the Lago alien,
yeah, which is a cool fucking gun. And in fact, I'd say it's a pretty interesting system that maybe other gun manufacturers should look at.
Well,
I was actually going to touch on that, but about how that's one new thing recently that I think actually has kind of pushed the bar past what we're so used to with all these main common designs like the Glock and the AR and even some of the SIG models now. And of course, the 1911's older than all of them.
Yep.
But that's still, you see thousands and thousands of those, and almost every manufacturer that does comes out with whether they start doing it or eventually have some type of a clone of one of them designs.
I said that today. I was at work today. We had a SIG Cross and 6.5 Creedmoor that had to go up for warranty, and I'm looking at this thing now. I'm a huge fan of Q, like QLLC, huge fan of their stuff, and I'm like, this is like a direct. Prime example: the SIG Cross is a direct ripoff / copy of the Q Fix.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and they're like saying this is the most innovative thing. I'm like, no, Q did that back in 2016. Like it, there's ways to innovate now, but there's not. A lot of people, especially when they're manufacturing guns, a lot of companies, especially in bolt action rifles, they're still running off on a Remington 700 platform, or in that case, a Mauser Action. There's not that standard deviation of bolt action rifles.
Well, when it comes right down to it, there's only so many ways you can make a firearm.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's just what it is. I mean, you can improve on some designs, but the basic format is not going to change. You still have to have a locking mechanism.
Right.
You still have to have a chamber, receiver. Everything there's only so many ways you're going to make it.
Yeah, right. They haven't come out with a new design in over 100 years.
Right. I mean, Chris Vector did one with the Vector, and that's just a completely weird ass design, but it works, and it's a cool little gun. It's ugly as fuck, but it's a cool little gun.
But it's
I want to jump in real quick.
The real quick, the Chris Vector, that recoil system was actually made off of, I believe, a French military rifle.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah, it's
copied it
old.
off. Yeah, it's an old. It's still that's not like a new design. They just
Right.
modernized it, I think.
Yeah, but the gun
actually-
itself, but the French gun
That's one
doesn't,
thing I wanted to
doesn't
touch
look
on.
like that configuration.
Yeah, that's
Right.
yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I was wanting to touch on what both of y'all's Chris's had. Okay, well, never mind. You got to finish that story first.
So I don't know what the fuck is the deal. So I was at a training class once, and I swear to God, I still have the picture. It's on my fucking old phone. I'd have to pull it up. So you know how like the Chris Vector, it comes with like that kind of fox kind of barrel. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's like hollow inside. I was in a fucking class, and I still have the original picture of this.
Do you mean faux?
Huh? Fox, F-A-U-X.
You mean
That's
faux
faux.
as imitation? Yeah, that's faux. A fox is the critter that runs around.
No, F-A-U-X.
Or it's the guy from the X Files.
Fox. All right.
Yeah, F-A-U-X is faux.
Oh, is it? Oh, fuck, I've been saying it wrong the whole time.
It's
It
French.
comes from French. Anyways, continue.
Fucking Frenchies, dude. Anyway. So,
Don't get Chris mad.
Faux barrels, okay? Shot out the side at 45 degrees. I don't fucking understand how. I don't know what science was behind it, but literally in the middle of that little foul barrel, which was secured like pretty well, it shot 45 degrees from the barrel. And guess where I was standing from that fucking thing? So if I was looking down at the side of the barrel, it was pointing this way, and my camera was in that same direction. Literally almost got whacked by that bullshit. He comes up to me and goes, "Oh, dude, something's wrong with my fucking Vector." And I'm like, "No shit, you got a hole up the side." And I started looking out on the barrel, and I was looking at my position on the last picture I took of that guy. Literally that fucking close. No joke.
Yeah.
I'll have to put that picture later because it was unreal.
I kind of want to touch on what Chris said about the gun culture thing. Now, I don't think it's so much the gun culture as it is human nature. See, humans are into comfort. So what they feel comfortable with, that's kind of what they're going to stick with. So that's why when something new or different comes out, everybody kind of rags on it until they can get comfortable with it. So I think that's
totally agree.
where it comes from. You know,
That's a good point.
Nature, right?
But that also ties into what I wanted to touch on of what the other Chris from Mad Customs had mentioned, and what Christian mentioned about Forgotten Weapons. One thing that I love about that channel that it shows to this point, what Chris said is there's only so many ways that you can make a firearm, whether design the straight up basics to it. There's only your 4 basic principles to make happen to make a functioning gun. There has been thousands, probably more than that, but there has been numerous ways that people have tried that didn't work out right, and that's why you don't see it much anymore. And a perfect example is like what you was mentioning about the Chris Vector, and that reusing an aspect of a different design from before in a new configuration, but that's still the way that that's done. The actual physical components or the action of it came from something else from before.
Sorry, here's the picture.
So that's just strange. Where's the actual barrel of the gun? Because that's like, if that's a faux barrel,
It
that's
starts
just kind of
right,
literally
literally at the back, right here. Trying to line it up. So you can see the impact, like right. Oops, sorry, wrong way. I'm like having a invert.
Your fingers over the hole.
Yeah.
No, it's right there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see it. Yep.
Yeah.
So you see, this is the top of the barrel where my thumb is. That's where the fucking bullet came out. Blew my mind, bro. I didn't.
What did it hit something or something?
Dude, I was like literally okay. So that looks about like 45 to 35 degrees from the right. If you're looking at it from the top of the picture, I was about the shooter's about 2 o'clock. That's where I.
Oh my gosh!
2 o'clock.
Wow.
I'm surprised. That seems like there was a barrel obstruction probably towards the end of the barrel.
It
And
has to be, because look at this, dude. It just blows my fucking mind.
Wow. So the actual barrel doesn't go all the way through that faux barrel. That's not just a complete shroud.
Yeah. No,
Wow,
it's
weird.
just a shroud. There's no barrel at all. It was. Oh, okay. Here we go. I got a picture of the whole entire thing. There we go. It was this vector, and that's where I took the picture.
Okay, so that wasn't a suppressor. That's just a shroud.
Yeah, it's just a shroud. Just a shroud. That's all it is.
Wow.
That's
and
awesome.
so, maybe was it a bullet that came through there, or was it just like pressure that just blew it out?
I think a whole bullet came out through there, because literally you could see the curvature of like a round there.
Yeah.
Kind of like it came outside. So that's what I'm having a hard time understanding, is how the fuck is that even possible if this is the top?
Well, there could have. Was that a machine gun?
No, it was a semi. It was a pistol.
Oh.
That's why I'm just completely stumped. So anytime I hear vector, I get really cautious.
It could have been a squib load where the squib bullet was stuck right at the very end of the barrel, and when the next round came out, it hit it, knocking it out, but not doing any damage to the gun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That makes more sense.
Wild. That's absolutely wild. Holy cow.
I mean, that's one thing that bothers me.
Yeah, like a billiard ball.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Seen it a lot.
Knocked that other one, kicked it sideways.
Yeah.
Well,
I've actually got barrels that have exploded in here that customers brought in, where they fired around, and there was a squib load in the barrel, and then they fired a subsequent round afterwards, and it just blew everything all to hell. And so when it comes to something like that, the bullet itself could have just been right out of the end of the barrel. And so when the next bullet hit it, there wasn't enough pressure, or I guess you could say blockage from the previous bullet to really do any damage. Plus, it's a semi-auto. So once it got started, it probably just went back and kept on going anyway. But it's hard to believe that it came.
Paper. It was fine.
Yeah, that dent is right at the end of where the barrel would be at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it would only make sense because the bullet ain't going to come out of the barrel and go that way. It's just not going to take a 90-degree turn to the right.
It had to be a squib.
Thank God.
Because then you get stuff like this.
Yeah.
that had to be a pretty strong squib load to actually still start the reactor.
That thing split all the way back to the chamber.
Looks like a banana peel.
Yep.
That's right up your alley, Scott.
Yes, it is.
The guy wanted it fixed.
Yeah, I was fixing to say, leave it to you to point out bananas.
Yeah.
Or something like this right here, where this is a 1911 barrel.
Yep.
That barrel literally squib was right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the bullet hit it right here, and then it just bulged and blew everything out.
And those are fun to take apart when they're like that.
I actually had to make a tool to get this bushing out, because it was so stuck in there that we couldn't get it apart.
Yeah.
And
cut the slide.
I was going to say, bandsaw the slide.
that was the beauty of it all. It was actually a SIG, and surprisingly enough, the only thing that was damaged on this gun was this barrel and this bushing.
Wow.
So being able to replace the barrel and the bushing only was a plus. So to be able to salvage the slide was what we were trying to do. So I could not cut the slide out. And at that point we were just replacing the gun. So after checking it over and seeing, where the damage actually was, because the barrel basically just gave way, everything else was okay in the gun. And so we just replaced the barrel and the bushing and put it all back into service, and everything was good after that. But yeah, that's one of those catastrophic events that in some cases could be worse than that. So it's dangerous. So That's one of the issues that I deal with all the time when we're shooting machine guns. Because there's no way to know if you had any kind of mishap on a machine gun, it's done for. So
Yep.
Now, did you learn about what ammo did that, or how that happened?
No, I mean the customer said that he was using factory ammo, and he just shot it. He was shooting it and didn't realize the different sound signature when he fired it.
Yeah.
And pulled the trigger again, and it just stopped. As a matter of fact, it stopped so bad that the gun didn't even cycle. Okay, because where it bulged right behind the skirt of the bushing, so therefore the slide itself would not physically go rearward. And
So were there two projectiles still in there, or was the barrel clear?
No, actually, because the squib was so far forward of the barrel, of the end of the barrel, that when the bullet hit it knocked it out. Both bullets came out, but the pressure was still there, and that's what just got rid of it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, people don't realize. They think, oh, factory ammo, it's never wrong. Oh yeah,
right.
there's a lot of bad rounds.
Well, especially
there's I mean it's
some shit going on. Well, shortage.
Yep.
Shortage meaning, hey, let's charge what we can for stuff.
Yeah, I've got a 32 ACP round, Remington. When I was at Inner Arms, it came through. I was shooting Walthers, and wouldn't feed. And it's like, son of a bitch, gun's fucked up. What the hell's going on? Pulled the round out. The extractor cut had never been cut on the 32 ACP. It looked like, a 38 special or something. And it's like, what the hell is this? And a couple of months later, one of the Remington reps came in and I showed him, and he's like, I want that round. Because that shouldn't, without the rim cut, it should not have gone through the loading machine. And it's like, it did, and you're not getting that round.
I was going to say, thank God you didn't give it to him.
Yeah.
That's when you see the Hoff just kind of laying the hammer down.
Yeah,
saying,
it's like, I'm keeping that round.
Ooh, I've seen that happen. I've seen that exact thing happen as Scott's holding up to a 45 from UMC.
Yep.
What the heck is
Yeah,
that?
I pulled a few of them out of a brand new box.
Yep. I've seen those.
Is
That came out of a brand new box of Federal.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So it caught the lip of the brass when they're inserting the projectile.
Probably so, yeah.
Just folded it right in.
Yeah.
Yep, I was actually loading up the magazine. I was messing with a P80 and trying to get it to cycle, and I had loaded the magazine and I didn't notice it. But luckily enough, I'm still trying to work out the kinks of the thing, and it's not cycling properly. So I was like, well, maybe it's the magazine. So I decided to unload that magazine, and I found this. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not putting that in another magazine. And then I started really examining all of them before I loaded them up into the next magazine. And it's easy enough to miss if you're just kind of on the fly and going. So, I mean, I don't know what kind of problems that could have caused me if I tried to fire it, but I'm glad I caught it.
I think we're all in trouble with Black Swan Media Management right now.
Yeah.
The only issue that would happen with that cartridge is it probably just wouldn't chamber. The cartridge size is different. So
Definitely. I think that little bulge right there probably would have kept it from going in the chamber all the way for sure.
So, well, I guess to any of our listeners, before I don't know how long this podcast is going to last, but to any of our listeners, basically one of the things that they can understand about gunsmithing and the general rules and rule number one in basic gunsmithing is do no harm to the firearm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if anything that you're getting ready to do is going to damage that gun, stop. Just stop. Okay. I mean, I get a lot of YouTubers in here that, like we were talking about earlier, where they look on YouTube to fix their gun, and next thing you know, they can't fix it. They don't know what the guy's talking about, and so they bring it in here and they need my help with it. But yeah, like I said, man, I mean, it's just if you're not comfortable with doing a certain job, man, take it to somebody that can help you with. Don't sit there and risk damaging anything. You know, that's one part about gunsmithing that you got to pay attention to. It's the competence of it.
Yeah.
Know your limitations.
They say your warnings in there. Take it to a competent gunsmith.
Yeah.
Are you saying the vice grips aren't a good deal?
No.
That's not,
In some
not the
cases,
gunsmith's best friend?
In some cases, no.
With
if you cut the grips off the vice grip, then the little teeth that are on the vice grip, you might have a better shot at it.
To your point, Chris, I've for those who don't know, I'm a new gunsmith. I wouldn't even consider myself a gunsmith. I'm probably still one in training. I graduated from Sonoran Desert Institute, and I'm still, I'm competent enough to work on some things, but there's stuff that comes in my shop that, like, I have no clue. I'm not even going to bother touching because I have no idea how to do it. I had an old Colt black powder cap and ball revolver, and I was like, I have no idea what would be wrong with that. I'm not even going to touch it.
Yeah.
And then you find stuff, too, that you find certain things that, like, you just can't work on. Just because you don't have the experience or you're not comfortable or you've tried it. Like for me, pocket 25 autos and pocket 32 autos, I can't freaking fix them, man. No matter what, I tried the hardest. And, after then they replaced every effing part because there's only probably 27 parts in those guns and it's still not working. It's, it comes to the point where you got to have that conversation with a customer. Like I had a guy the other day, a couple weeks ago, I think Hoff, I told you about this. We had a Colt Mustang plus Colt Mustang plus 2. It's the 380 1911. We replaced this recoil spring, we replaced the guide rod, we replaced every mainspring you possibly think of on that thing. Guy was still having cycling issues. I did the extractor, and it got to the point where he was looking at a good like $200-300 in labor on top of parts, and the gun's probably only worth $600 maybe. I don't know. And the guy's like, "Well, I don't want to get that too involved." It's gonna happen.
Too late.
Yeah, when you add up parts and you add up labor, plus if we had to charge for our aggravation, we'd be millionaires, man.
Yeah.
And that's a good point right there. I mean, one of the things that for one, you're not gonna learn something unless you work on it. Okay, a lot of those guns, back when I first started, those were the guns that I started doing. I literally would make parts, like sitting there trying to, and at the time, my first lathe was a hand drill and a file. Okay, so it really just comes down to how dedicated are you to the craft.
Right.
And you're not gonna know something right off the bat. You gotta understand. For one, it doesn't matter which firearm it is, okay? They all do the same thing, okay? They all work together to create that one great sound and, aroma that, most people like. All right? And you just got to figure out how that system works. Okay, once you understand how that system works, then the rest of them that you work on are pretty much the same. And you got to remember, you got your main main manufacturers, your Smiths, Ruger, Colt, Remington, Winchester. Like I said, going back to what we were talking about before. Everybody made a copy of those designs at some point in time. Yeah. Okay. And so when you get a gun into your shop and you start taking it apart, you got to ask yourself, okay, what does this gun represent? What is it a copy of? Mm-hmm. All right. And then if you understand this gun, whether it's the original brand or if it's a copy, if you understand the gun, it doesn't matter who made it. It's all the same gun. It might have some variations in how they design the system to work because of patent infringements, but nonetheless, the gun still works the exact same way. You just have different parts and names for those parts. Yeah. Okay, but they're still the exact. I remember calling. I had it was a Charter Arms. Okay, I had a Charter Arms in here. This was years ago, and the double action sear on the hammer was somebody had tried to lighten the trigger pull on it, and they actually cut the double action sear on it too short to where when you went to pull the trigger, the hammer released too soon, and it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't even cock far enough back to even strike the firing pin hard enough to even do anything. And so I called up Charter Arms to ask them for a double action sear. This is what it is. It's a double action sear.
Yep.
The sales rep on the phone was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm like,
you have no idea the aggravation that is.
Connected to the hammer so that when you pull the trigger, it will cock the hammer. And she goes, oh, you're talking about the lifter. I'm like, I don't care what y'all call it. Yeah. It's a double action sear.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like Colt, and it's like the revolver. You got a cylinder, the yoke or the crane for a cylinder. You know, once you understand the terminology of it, it's all the same stuff.
Yeah.
So, and
I want to touch on this question from Chris Shoemake real quick. He says, "What are the best jobs / projects for someone starting a gunsmith business?"
Depends what kind of business you're starting.
Yeah, that's so open ended there. There's a lot.
I'd say to get your foot in the door, if you're not that well versed with guns, start off with just doing basic cleanings.
Yeah,
because it gets you to the point where you take the guns down, you see how the parts work, you get to learn how to take, you take one 1911 apart or two 1911s apart, you realize, okay, this recoil spring, you have to put a little stupid paper clip that's going to break in, or you use a barrel bushing. Glock, any striker fire pistol, ARs, bolt actions, you name it, lever actions. There's not that much variation between a Winchester and a Marlin. Couple screws here or there, it's about the same system. And then from there, I'd say start with learning how to, install triggers, stuff that you can easily swap parts on.
Yeah. And when you clean the guns, take the damn things apart. Everything.
All the way apart.
Not take like a 1911. Don't take the slide off of it and take gun scrubber and go like this and spray it down and shake it out and say, there, it's clean. I cleaned a gun.
The one thing that drives me crazy about that is the customers will clean their 1911s, but they'll never take the mainspring housing apart. And then when they come back and they wonder why their hammer's not working right. And so we have to take it all apart. They literally dunked it in their cleaning solution, but they never got the solution out of the mainspring housing.
Yeah.
And so that spring rusted shut. It just rusted.
And
now it doesn't even work.
That's why I love my ultrasonic cleaner.
Oh, they're the best. And then if you use some Aegis gun care as you're cleaning, it makes your job a whole lot easier.
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
I do want to add one thing.
Take the gun completely apart. It's just that simple. Just take it apart.
So, I want to add one thing to what y'all mentioned for his question. If you actually are looking to actually open up a shop, one of the best things you can do, going past the suggestions y'all made, is kind of ask around. What is common in your area? What is the folks around you more likely to have? Like, for example, where I am here in South Mississippi, we have probably 5 shotguns to every AR that's going to come in because there's a big wild or duck and fowl community here.
Yep.
If you're going to be like in, say, Dallas, you probably ain't going to see as many shotguns come in. You'll probably see a whole bunch more pistols or something. See what's common in your area that your potential customers might actually be bringing in.
Yeah.
Ironically, the top 5 guns I have to actually deal with on a regular basis is a Remington 1100 or 1187. Then I'll deal with most of the time a 1911 because people don't feel comfortable taking those apart to clean them. Because most of my jobs that I have to deal with, I'm lucky enough, or not lucky. It's just what I do for work is people will get stuff get passed down. Granddad died, had this gun in the safe, whatever. It was all rusted up, and you bring back. You can get surface rust off very easily. So it's just cleaning guns, but you're gonna get a lot of your bolt action Mossberg shotguns. I get those the 1187, 1100 variants. So those can be finicky sometimes. The other day I had you guys know the lifter. I don't know, for those who have taken them apart, the trigger housing, that lifter detent. So I tried taking the lifter detent off, and that detent just jettisoned into the ether of the shop. And I'm like, okay, that's always so.
I got
fun.
about a dozen of them around the shop, but you got to crawl around and find them.
Yeah. I just bought the whole new trigger. I bought a whole new trigger housing for the guy. He was all happy. Got the gun run. It was all good. But then you're also gonna get like your Remington variants, like a Ruger American or like a I don't get 700s often, but I'll get, say, Savage 110s. And again, it's just basic cleanings. You're mounting scopes. You'll learn, okay, this action takes a special scope base rather than this action. So you learn really quickly. But one thing I think we all should touch on is when you're working on firearms, no matter what, if it's a cleaning or you're installing an Apex trigger or you're starting to get into milling and drilling and stuff like that or welding, there's a bunch of safety that goes into it. It's worth the money. The more rubber gloves you go through that you don't have to touch, some chemicals or whatever, or safety glasses, for instance, slowing down when you're on a mill. Chris, I don't know if you remember, we met briefly at the range day in May, but so I was the one that had
I was literally about to tell you to tell that story.
Yeah, so 3 days before Iraq Veteran, hold on. God damn it. 3 days before Iraq Veteran Range Day, I was pinning and welding on a muzzle brake, and I had a mishap with a carbide drill bit. That is about a good quarter inch of a carbide drill bit stuck in my hand. I had to get surgery to get that removed. So safety is key.
Surgery.
Oh yeah,
I told
Take
Joe
a hammer and pound it out the way it came.
Yep,
I told
that's right.
Joe I can fix that right here, right now.
Yeah. Tank, we were at Waffle House. Tank was like, "Yo, we'll take care of this right now, bro. We got
I got this, bro.
Tank's got a med kit.
I mean, I usually do the body shop Band-Aid. I take a paper towel and some masking tape, and just there you go. And
I did that, and it kept hurting. So just to make sure, but so like, or especially when you're welding, I don't know if anyone's ever dealt with TIG welding. I've shocked myself like countless times with the TIG welder. It's not that hard.
I do a little bit of MIG welding, so I know what it's like.
Yeah, you shock yourself. So like, there's also. But then again, you're.
Oh yeah, I gotta hook the ground up.
Yeah.
Forgot.
So metal shavings in your eye is not a fun time. You can permanently lose eyesight. So safety glasses. Knowing again what springs and what gun have springs of detents that's going to come flying out back at you in the face.
All of them.
Yeah. But yeah, safety is always key when you're starting out. Just be safe.
That's why I'm not vacuuming my office until I find all the springs I've lost.
You're never gonna do that.
When I was younger, I didn't think about safety so much, and I've been doing auto body work now for 30 years, and I used to, I'm just gonna paint this one spot real quick, and just do it fast and not wearing a mask. I lost my sense of smell for 3 years from doing that.
Well, that's because you're spraying Imron without a respirator.
Yeah, I sprayed lacquer cabinets for a while, and that shit would just burn through your respirator like you wouldn't believe. Like, it's some stinky stuff.
Right, and Rich talking about that Imron, a lot of people have died from that.
Yes.
That is like the death paint. That's what I call it. And us in this industry, that we call it the death paint, because a lot of guys, especially back in the day, would spray that stuff and not wear a mask. And a lot of them nowadays, if they're still alive, they're hooked up to oxygen 24/7.
My dad, he was a painter his entire life, and he has a quarter of his lung removed because of spraying cabinets and spraying, oil-based paint without a mask. Chemicals can do some nasty shit to you, man. It's not something to mess around with. That's why, you get an old gun
on my hands, and
you get an open cut, and you're messing around with Cosmoline, or you're messing around with some rusty trigger springs. It's not. You just got to be safe about it.
Hey, there's a question. there with the laser engraving and stempling becoming rapidly more popular. Will the old ways die out? I truly believe it will.
Yeah.
I've tried to engrave myself, and years ago I don't even fuck with it now. It's too damn hard. And but yes, when it comes to laser engraving, I mean that laser is amazing. It's phenomenal what it will do, and it'll
there's always
the same results.
Yeah, there's always going to be people who are going to pay for the handwork to be done.
Sure.
Yep.
But it's high end stuff. It's not.
Right.
Somebody's not going to take their Glock and have it done.
Yeah. Hey, can I get 10 grand worth of hand carving on this thing?
Just damascene my whole Glock, dude.
But that's what it's going to come down to. I mean, it's going to be a real niche, I guess, situation. I mean, it's just not going to be like it used to be anymore. No, most of your manufacturers now aren't doing engravings anymore. Hell, they've switched to their stocks where they just have a stamping of a grip put on there.
Yep.
And I mean, it's not even the same anymore. It's just I just don't feel like the engraving portion of it is cost effective anymore. It just doesn't.
No.
I mean, yes, it's a lot better.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love a handcrafted firearm. It just it looks better. It feels better. But when it comes right down to it, even all the manufacturers are going to go with the cost over the quality of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I don't even mess with hand checkering or anything like that. I just it doesn't pay, doesn't interest me. Takes too much time. Like stippling, like it's a fun task to learn because you got to learn your demographic too. A lot of these new kids, like they're all about having like their Guccified Glocks and SIGs and all that stuff. Like I had a guy today, I could tell the guy dropped like serious money on his 320, and then that being said, people that drop serious money on slides, you don't want to mess that stuff up. Okay. You gotta, Mark Novak. He told me one time when I talked to him. I got a chance to talk with him, and Mark told me he was like, "Listen, when I started out, you know how much stuff I broke? You know how many times I've messed up that I thought I was going to go to jail, and it really wasn't that bad. You gotta learn to break stuff because you're never going to learn."
Yeah,
right.
An expert is somebody who's made all the mistakes before and learned from it.
Right. I still second guess myself being new. It sucks.
Yep, that's the same thing that Mark Novak told me. Was that the only difference between him and me is he has screwed stuff up more times than I've ever tried.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
No, Chris, what were you gonna say?
Well, that's the thing, and that to really put it in more of an understanding situation. The difference between a gunsmith and a part replacement smith is a gunsmith can fix his own fuck ups.
Yep.
Because when you sit back and think about it, when you sit back and think about it, if a gunsmith fucks up, who the hell does he take it to?
Yep.
I drilled my first 4 months gunsmithing. I didn't really have a mentor. I got the figure it out. That's what I got. So I had to figure it out. I had one guy I was working under who didn't want to be a gunsmith. He taught me how to barely drill holes for pin. I live in Massachusetts, so we got to pin and weld stuff for compliance work. So I learned how to mill and TIG weld very quickly. So I figured it out. But it's not fun when you get the, oh, shit. And they're like, what did you do? Oh, I just drilled through a barrel on a SCAR 20S. Oh, damn. But I learned how to fix it. Then also, when you scratch the DLC coating on an agency arm slide and you can't fix DLC coating, I just effed up a $700 slide, you're going to fuck up. All right? So I always tell people, if you're going to become a gunsmith, know you're going to F up. But also, if you have a chance to work under someone, do it. The figure it out learning is not always the best way.
Yeah.
No, definitely not, because there's techniques that you have to know, to do things. And if you don't have somebody there to kind of show you or critique you on your techniques, you're never going to learn how to perfect those techniques.
I want to
And to
reply
touch on what both. Go ahead.
I want to reply to Ting Ting's comment. I'll take all the Holland and Hollands you can find for $4,000.
Yeah, you're not gonna find one.
I mean, I'll buy every single one of them you bring to me for $4,000. You know, because they start at what, 10?
Yeah.
19,000.
Yeah.
You get the one that they made for Land Rover to match the Land Rover special editions, like $100,000. Yeah.
I was in one of the high end shotgun shops the one day, and one of the movie producers came in, and he brought a couple of guns with him. He was trading in on 2 Holland and Hollands. Wrote a $500,000 check.
Now, I always wanted to know, what do those shops look like? Like, are they like pristine, or like is it just like a typical gunsmith shop? They just
No.
Do they have to like produce? Like, is it like meticulously cleaned and all that stuff? Because I
no,
think,
it's they're not meticulously clean, but you know, they got a lot of sawdust around. They got a lot of, you know, they've got different equipment.
Yeah.
You know, and everything is hand fit there. You know,
I want to know how many people that work in those shops drop receivers or drop barrels, and they can get away with it because they know how to fix it.
It happens.
Yeah.
I mean, people are only human.
Yep.
Shit.
I'm glad that y'all did touch on that, because that was one of the other topics I was wanting to bring up, is that there are much fewer what I would consider heirloom quality manufacturers out there now.
Oh yeah.
Like Holland and Holland, for example. That's one that even people that ain't even into guns probably will recognize what Holland and Holland is.
Yep. And then, you know, there's a lot of places that are making, you know, expensive guns.
Yeah.
There's that, what is it, Cabot?
Yeah.
That's making those 1911s. Yeah. I guarantee in 10 years they won't be in business.
Yep.
You know, Holland and Holland has been in business for so long, they're never going to go out of business.
Nowhere.
unless England shuts them down.
Right.
Right.
Well, didn't you say that about Interarms?
What?
I
knew Interarms was going out of business. I knew that, you know, I knew Interarms was going under 5 years before it did. Because they were spending money like it was going out of style. You know, things were selling. And I told the chief financial officers, I said, I hope you're putting a lot of this money away, because the bottom's going to drop out of this frickin' market and you're not going to sell a damn thing for a couple of years. Oh, no, we'll have plenty of money. Yeah. 3 years later, he called me into his office and he said, I should have listened to you.
Damn.
And oh, by the way, you're laid off.
Wow.
That hindsight is a bitch, ain't it?
Yeah. You know, the executives just thought it was going to go on forever. And it's like, it's a buying spree. You know, that was back in the 90s when, you know, the assault weapons ban and everything. Hell, we were selling anything. We were pulling stuff out of the junk bin and selling it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And RSR and Davidson's, they said, we don't give a shit. We'll take anything with the serial number on it.
That's crazy.
You can replace it later.
Sure.
Well, and I wonder how many people have actually like learned like from buying all that stuff and like the ebbs and flows, especially in terms of gunsmithing. How many people have actually had to work on guns in that time period because of people bought so many of them because they thought, oh man, the world's going to end. We're not going to be able to buy this stuff anymore. And now, you know, they probably sat in a safe for 20 years. They've never shot the damn thing. And all of a sudden they go to shoot it. And it's like, oh, wow. So now you get, I think would you say like every generation, there's like a list of guns that your gunsmith is going to have a chance to work or have to work on for various reasons?
You know, whatever the fad gun is, you know, it's not so much, you know, oh, everybody goes out and buys everything because of a scare. It's more just the fad gun. You know, like now, plastic guns, Glocks, and, you know, people are going to be working on those for a long time. Before it was 1911s.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think also, Hoff, you lucked out because you kind of get like that niche, not niche market, but you work on the Uzis, the Sterlings, the Stens.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I wouldn't call it like hipster
works on the
guns,
cool
but like
stuff.
they're the guns that everyone's like, yeah, it's like you're like the unicorn gunsmith.
Yeah,
Everyone's always-
my clientele is older guys who've made a good living. Their kids are grown and out of the house now, and they got some money to play with.
Does it smell like cotton candy in your shop, Hoff?
Yep.
That's just the air fresheners he uses.
Can I ask each of you guys a specific kind of question? I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are. I guess we'll start with Chris. What would be your solution to kind of bring the gunsmithing culture more up in terms of the gun community as a whole? Like, what would you kind of recommend?
What do you mean?
Well, in terms of like, gunsmithing videos, how-tos, etc., what would be your method to try to bring more gunsmithing out to others, I guess?
Well,
try to get it more out to the masses.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, I invited disabled vets to come in here and just learn. I mean, like I said, I have one that's in here right now as an apprentice. He's an unofficial apprentice. And but he comes in, he's a disabled vet. He has nothing to do all day. And, so he comes in here and, I put him on cleaning jobs. And by doing that, it allows him to be able to take the gun apart, learn all the parts to it and how the gun actually functions and everything. And then he can clean it and put it back together. And then, of course, I'll be working on something that's a little more advanced. And then he can watch what I'm doing in regards to that and then learn kind of, over my shoulder type of scenario. And when it comes right down to it, I mean, the gunsmiths that are out there, they have to pass it along. I mean, it's, the art in itself is dying. And, and if the gunsmiths themselves don't take the opportunity or the time to pass it along, then only thing we're going to have in the future is part replacement smiths.
Yep.
And that's it.
That's the majority of my job is just part replacements and troubleshooting to find out, okay, what part needs to be replaced. There's not a lot of stuff that I have to do that's really like where I occasionally have to grab out a file and calipers and just it's honestly the knowledge more. I think the art of troubleshooting a firearm is always a valued skill. Like, comes down to knowing your firearm system. Is it is it a gas system issue?
Yeah.
Is it it's cycling? Okay,
It's like the question that was just, or the statement that was just made just a second ago. I mean, you're right. There are a lot of the guns that are being made now are throwaway guns. They're just there's nothing valuable about it, and it just comes down to a point where it's not when you're in the business to make money doing this work. Having a gun that comes in that your hourly rate is more than the gun is worth.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not worth your time to work on it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that the gun they have, and this is something that I say a lot to a lot of my customers because they come in here and because they think the gun is old, it's valuable.
Yeah.
It's just not the case.
And it's an Ivor Johnson single shot.
Right. And or they want to know the value of it, and one of the things that and this is something that I don't do histories and I don't do values. Okay, because
go on
the history
Gunbroker and look it up.
Right. Mm-hmm. I said, I tell them, the history of that gun or where that gun was made or what country it was made in or what year it was made is all irrelevant to what I'm going to do to it.
Right. Yep.
And I don't need to know that. Okay.
Yeah, you can find a lot of that stuff online.
The older I get, the more I'm starting to forget. So I don't want to remember history about it. I want to know how to fix it.
Yeah.
And
you can only hold so much in your head.
Right.
Right. The value of it.
Yeah, you can't upgrade the memory.
Exactly. And the other thing that I say to the customer is that do you plan to sell it to a collector? Because if you don't plan to sell it to a collector, then the value of it is irrelevant.
Right. Yep.
It's only worth what someone's willing to pay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and
I also want to touch on something. I want to touch on something else that goes along with this. Is not just that, like what you were saying. A lot of the manufacturer, it's almost kind of like in the computer industry and even like appliances. 30, 40 years ago, everything started going to built-in obsolescence, making things replace it instead of fix it. And the whole society in general, not just the gun culture, has kind of went that way now, to where someone has this old gun and it breaks, they're just going to go, they're going to be more interested in going and just buying a new one right now than actually taking the time and money to take it somewhere to be fixed. Everybody just wants to replace it rather than something breaks, fix it. Whereas back in the day, everybody pretty much didn't have the money, so something breaks, you fix it, or you're going to be doing without. And most people, you can't be doing without. If this, even like, for example, single shot Ivor Johnson, that might be what put food on the table, because that's what Joe Bob went out and got rabbits that day with.
And that truly was a lot of the issue, is because the culture has changed to where now people are more recreational shooters than they are provider of shooters.
Yeah,
and that's just what it is. I mean, people people still hunt, okay, but it's not a situation where the only gun they have in their house is what they use to survive off of. All right. And with all the different styles of firearms on the market now, well, I mean, everybody has their little go-to play toy, and that's really what it comes down to.
Can I pose each of you a question then? If it was something that you relied on to protect your life, would you go out of your way? Let's say that's whatever said firearm was not working. Would you go out of your way to A, fix it, or B, replace it with something that's guaranteed? Wink, wink. Okay, hold on. Don't kill me. Guaranteed, or at least out of the box. Hold up, guys. Chill. Okay, guaranteed to work. And would you find it worth it either way? Let's start with Rich. You haven't talked in a minute.
Hoffman or me?
The one that crashes planes.
Yeah.
So, all right, my EDC is a SIG P365, and when it first came out, would I make that my EDC? Hell no. And I think I went from, let's see, an LC9 to an LC9S, and I alternated with an LCP2. In any of those, and now to the SIG P365 is my EDC. Any of those I wouldn't trust until I had like 1,000 rounds through them, and I was sure they were going to be flawless. So, that's really my criteria. Is that if you can put 1,000 rounds through it and it's flawless, then I think it's reasonable for EDC. I've tested a gun and I got 120 rounds through it, and I had 2 failures to extract. And this is a popular EDC gun, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to go near that.
Yeah, so but would you fix it, or would you just buy a new one?
Would you go out of your way to go buy a new one of the same gun or something better, or would you go out of your way to go get it repaired by a professional? Let's say he's a Godsmith, okay, Smith. Like, would you take it to him? Say he offered to fix your 365 for $200. Would you go do it, or would you just go buy a new one?
See, I think it depends on the fix. Is it a fundamental design flaw? Is it a part that's broken? Realistically,
I want to say it's a general fix. It could be any of the factors, anything.
Function.
$200, you're getting kind of close, because what's a SIG? A $500 gun? A SIG P365?
Exactly. So with that kind of point, I would say that in some sense, we are a bit of a throwaway society. At the same time, in my personal opinion, whatever that's fucking worth, I kind of feel like if something is kind of just broken on the spot, I could take it, send it back to warranty, get it fixed from the manufacturer itself. which can have its own troubles in some cases. Which I know I've heard some great horror stories, which are
It sucks.
so much fun.
I hate it.
I will say High Point's got some pretty interesting people there in the warranty department. But besides that, at least for me personally, the thing about the whole throwaway society, look, let's kind of be real here for a minute. If I pay $600 for a Glock and shit, and it starts, double feeding, etc., I'm gonna try different methods to try to fix it myself in some cases. But if it's a fundamental issue where, like, let's say the extractor took a shit, or it's something else, or it's something minor, which in terms of Glocks, it's very common. You'll find hundreds of fucking parts everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody can fucking do it. So I will say that, like, in some sense, that we are a bit of a throwaway society, but at least we are a bit of a highly modular society. I mean, look at how many parts are available for Glocks, AR-15s, 1911s now, actually.
Ruger 1022s.
1022s, all stuff like that. So I wouldn't say we're directly a throwaway society. I would say it's more of a modular society. And because of the modern materials that are giving a lot of precedent and a lot of ease and a lot of logistical ease, I guess, in terms of, like, hey, I can fucking Amazon Prime a Glock extractor no problem tomorrow in the middle of fucking North Carolina or Jacksonville if I need to.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so it depends on the person. So, like, you or I, we would be like, okay, I know it's a simple fix. Let me fix it. But most people today are in too much of a hurry and want that instant gratification. So they're going to be like, fuck it, throw it away. Let's get a new one.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I will back that up with a fundamental issue that seems to be plaguing a lot of different, medias and as well as social medias, is the fact that there's a huge lack of information all around. There's a massive lack of fucking information. And look, I mean, I know I get that we have all the books, we have all the resources in terms of, like, hard to get shit, in my opinion, because, I'm busy as fuck every single day. I don't have time to sit through 100 different resources, libraries, and everything else, how to take apart a bolt carrier group. You know what I mean? Which, granted, online it's there, simple shit, common shit. But
well, that's another thing too, because some people just aren't mechanically adept to look at that and then go, oh yeah, I can take that apart and put it back together. Or if they do,
that's the thing.
they
And
start
it's
to
like,
take
it's
it
just
apart and then they
one little
screw it all up
pin.
and they give up on it. You know what I mean? And then they're like, oh, well, either I gotta take it to a gunsmith and spend money, send it back to the factory, wait forever for to get it back, or just buy a new one.
And guess
You know
what?
how many times I have a Mark IV, a Mark II or Mark III Ruger pistol that comes through that the person doesn't have time to watch a video to properly put that back together? I get Mark IIs and Mark IIIs brought to me in boxes on a regular basis. That's just one example. 1911s, I've had people, I don't know how to put this back together, and I've literally put it back together without looking at them, like looking at the gun, just while I'm. They don't want to put the time in, and it's not just saying people are lazy. It's just people
are lazy.
People are lazy as
nowadays.
fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, I was giving people.
Hold on a second now. Wait a minute now. There's a situation when it comes to the parts. Okay, people look at the gun. It's just one big clump of metal. Right. All right, and that's what they see. They don't realize that when they take it apart, that there are a lot of parts inside that metal, okay? And if they're not truly paying attention to where these parts came out of, some parts can go in backwards, and they can still, well, it's not going to work, but it'll still go together.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't know that when they start putting it together. And then when they put it together, and then it's not working, then they go, oh wait, well something's wrong. It's not working right, and then it starts to mess with their mind, and they don't have no idea what they've done to it. And so it's just when they get it apart, it looks like it is on the outside. It looks simple, until they get inside.
Yeah, they get overwhelmed. They see all the parts and pieces, and they're like,
and when they take a 1911 apart, when you take a 1911 apart, there's a lot of parts in that gun, and more than a Glock, I can assure you of that.
Yeah,
way more. Yeah,
I think the other thing too, you could definitely see a lot of that very prominent too in gun culture, as well as like any range you go to, is watch anybody clear a malfunction. Like a new
Oh.
shooter, clear a malfunction. I think that to me, fundamentally, is just absolutely so fucked.
Well, you look at it
Well,
first. And,
Yes. I mean, that's you talk about that.
I will say
that's
that
easy.
clearing malfunctions was probably the one skill that I used the most in the Makers match.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And that's a very big fundamental fucking problem, is that it doesn't get talked about enough.
Mhm.
And
You're
the
right.
fact of the
I
matter
mean,
is,
that was something that I saw at the range day over in October. I saw people having
they'll just be like this, click.
yeah, and then they
why do you make fun of me? Why? Why do you have to make fun of me like that?
Because Rich, you break stuff. Okay, you break stuff. I don't know.
Rick, how did you not know to put lubricant in a Glock trigger pad to make the trigger lighter?
Because I've never built a damn Glock before.
All right, okay, no, you got to pass on that. Never mind. Now
Yeah,
it's serious.
Rich
Look,
is a SIG fanboy.
I've built one Glock in my life, and I've built a number of ARs. And I don't consider myself a gunsmith. In the majority of my machining experience, I worked in an automotive machine shop, and I've done a lot of automotive work in aviation, mechanics. So so building the first Glock slide, I thought it was like a Timex watch inside there. I didn't realize there was like 3 parts, and they just only go in one way. Like, really? That's it?
I mean,
Rich,
they
I'll
can go
give you
in more than
credit for
one
that
way. It
because-
just might not work.
I'm sorry. What'd you say, Joe?
Yep.
I said I was just going to give you credit for that, though, Rich, because you say you're not a gunsmith. You have more machining experience than I do from working in the automotive machine shop stuff and aviation. You would understand a lot more stuff than I do. Like me, I'm still trying to figure out how to get the damn micro adjustment working on the mill at work. I think I fucking know how to do that. No.
Okay, but working on machines does not make you a gunsmith.
Yeah,
Exactly. I know, exactly. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Just because you can work a machine or can't work a machine does not make you a gunsmith at all.
No.
I mean, I've had machine shops, or not machine shops, but I've had.
What makes you a gunsmith?
Go on.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I wasn't cutting you off.
No.
I was saying I've had customers come in here who have taken their guns to machine shops to have just your basic sight screw that broke on the top of their receiver out, and next thing you know, the machinist drilled a hole out through the chamber.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's about a half
Wait,
an
wait,
inch hole there. You just
And
went
I'm
through.
gonna. You're talking not about a machinist, but a tool operator.
Right.
Operator.
And
Every time I
because
shoot the gun,
because
there's a
you know how
flame that
to-
comes out.
Just because you know how to use a machine don't mean you know how to be a gunsmith.
Yep, exactly.
Yep. That's the difference in, like what you said, an operator or a gunsmith. A gunsmith has the skills and the knowledge regardless of what tools is at his disposal.
Right.
I think
a gunsmith is the jack of all trades. I mean, you've got welding, you've got machining, you've got wood fabricator. I mean, you got a fabricator. I mean, they have to know a lot of different trades in the business in itself.
Yeah.
And you can't just put your emphasis on one position of it. To be a well-rounded gunsmith, yes, okay, having all of that knowledge just makes you a better gunsmith. All right, but it doesn't make you the gunsmith. All right, it just makes you better at what you're doing. I mean, it's like I said earlier. My first lathe was a hand drill and a file. When I actually got a lathe, oh my God, my life just expanded.
Holy crap! I didn't know I could do that.
It's kind of like doctors.
Yeah.
Because doctors have to kind of know a generality of your whole body and whatever, but they'll specialize in one area. Gunsmiths have to understand all them different aspects, but you might not. You don't necessarily have to master everybody don't have to master hand checkering, but understanding how the stuff works most people will specialize in a certain area. Like, you'll have dudes, that's all they'll do is they'll make the best wood stocks in the world, the greatest grain, everything flush fit, not a seam that you can find anywheres, but they might not be that great at the metalwork or the actually bedding it into that stock or something, you know. But that's what just one point I was wanting to get at.
I think that's the one thing, the allure of all the aspects of gunsmithing. That's kind of what drew me in, is the knowledge that you need of several different things in order to be a good gunsmith, you know, or a well-rounded gunsmith. And I think that's kind of what drew me into it, other than my passion for firearms. And really, I've always been the kind of person who likes to take things apart and put it back together and figure out how it works and make it work if it's not working, you know. So, you know, I've always just kind of had those gears turning in my head. So, you know, I was like, well, you know, there's one thing I haven't done in life yet, and that's fix guns. So, you know, that's kind of where I drew myself into this and started going down the path there, you know, or the rabbit hole, so to speak. So, you know, there's plans I have for things that I really want to get into in the gunsmithing. And, you know, I don't know what I want to really specialize in, but I do want to manufacture some stuff as well as, you know, fixing and other things like that. But I think for me, because I like to create things, I might get more into the manufacturing side of things.
I personally like to refinish. That's my thing, is refinishing.
I'm glad that you touched on that.
Go ahead, Cody.
Yeah, I was wanting to say, Silverback brought up a great point, and I want to kind of pose this as a question to the rest of y'all on if y'all agree or not. I think every gunsmith is really a tinkerer at the source. Even at a young age, having that drive to want to take things apart, figure it out, put it back together. Do y'all agree with that or not?
Oh yeah.
I did not hear the
I didn't hear the question.
All right, it wasn't me. It wasn't just me.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I didn't
I'll
hear
say
the
that
questions.
again. I think that every gunsmith is really at his center a tinkerer, having that drive and desire to figure things out.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. That's a resounding fuck yeah, honestly. I feel like any of us who handled any kind of firearm would feel like, man, you know, at some point, maybe if I added this one thing, maybe a red dot, maybe a muzzle brake, maybe a grip, maybe just anything else. It's just small little modifications that we can always add to make things better.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, the
once
one
you get
thing
started
that-
on that, it grows. It grows exponentially. I started on real firearms. I've been shooting since like I was at least 12. I later got into like airsoft and milsim and shit. I started making other people's guns. It got me my hands and shit working together. And then I'm working on my own guns and shit. I was fuck yeah, man. Thinking is what starts.
So I just want to comment on what Chris said. Is growing up on Long Island, you couldn't be more than 10, 11 miles away from a machine shop because of all the machining industry that was going on there. And then when you're in other parts of the country, there's no machine shop for 100 miles sometimes.
Yep.
And like Chris said, I made a center transfer punch because I had to do something on an airplane in a hangar in Minnesota. And there was no place I could buy the tool. And I spun a drill up, I chucked a piece of steel stock into the drill, and I took an angle grinder, and I made a transfer punch on the bench.
Yep.
And I think a lot of it, you find people out there, like they could read and operate the machine, and it says, to this depth or to set this speed. But when you have to figure it out on your own, that's where you have the wealth of knowledge. You know that this type of steel needs this bit, this lubricant, and this speed with this tool. that's when you're a machinist and you understand how to do it and why to do it, not just reading the spec out of the book.
I think
that's the key to everything. Understanding the why, not just the how to do it.
Yeah.
But also you have like some sort of like draw to it. That's another very important thing. It's absolutely when it comes to gun shit, and then I don't know, catapults, cars, anything. You know, people have to have that certain draw to it. So it's like it's kind of difficult, man. Some people nowadays, kids, especially grown up now, they don't have much in the way of problem solving as much.
Mm-hmm.
I think that like us as a society going on a downward fucking spiral when it comes to problem solving, and as well as, you know, hey, life's fucking tough, get the fuck over it and fix it. You know what I mean? And it's fucking sad. And it's like, you know, I'm really, especially on a podcast right now with a bunch of individuals that are like-minded as me, as like, hey, my fucking gun's not working right. Let me go fucking fix it myself. I'm gonna go look up resources. I'm gonna figure it out before I go and just take it to some asshole and pay him a shit ton of money and fix it for me.
Hey! Listen, man. That's how I make a living.
No. Listen, bro. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say it for as a fact.
All them assholes is what you're talking about.
Bunch of gun shop people, man. They're so fucking mean, bro. I don't blame them. I don't blame them because you fucking new gun owners and shit coming in. So you get a lot.
You should hear Joe call me up. You can't believe this guy today. Oh my gosh!
That's why I honestly, there's some people like I love working on guns, but that's why you kind of can get some gunsmiths or just people at gun shops that can just tend to be a little kind of
salty.
I'd say gruff. I've been called gruff because I don't, you know, I can only try and explain something so many times, and then when a customer doesn't really want to listen to me, it's like I get to the point where I'm like, all right, do you want it done or not? Like, do you want to pay the money or not? Like that's in. You get guys that like that, but at its heart, that's stuff you got to deal with, you know. But you know, let's just get this out here. We're not all gunsmiths are not assholes. We just have to deal with a bunch of people that just don't want to listen to us when we tell them, "Hey, this is messed up."
Oh no, we're assholes. We just have to keep it under wraps.
Yeah. I'll freely admit I'm an asshole.
Some people keep. I was going to say some people keep it under wraps more than others.
Yeah, there have been situations where I have literally told people just get the hell out.
Yep.
I mean, because
I don't want to work on your shit. Go away.
And I mean, the one thing that drives me crazy the most is when somebody walks in my door and they say, you know, I could do it if I had the tools.
That hurts me.
And
name that tune.
I say, well, come on in here and get started.
That's the thing that goes back to what I said earlier. You know, customers come in. Oh, well, yeah, it's like this. I seen it on, you know, TV, or I seen it on the internet to do this. Okay, well, come on. You know, I'll supply you the materials. I'm here to answer your questions. Yeah. I'm here. You fix your own damn shit. Right.
And when somebody says
that, brings me up.
One last point on that. When somebody says I could do it if I had the tools, what they're saying is that 20, 30 years of experience you have means this to me, and I don't want to pay for it.
Right, exactly. I mean, it is belittling as hell, and it's just. Yep. I'm like, dude, what the hell? You know, why did you came and knocked on my door?
Yeah. I don't.
You came to me. What do you want?
I mean, I did not call you here.
Yeah, I didn't search you out. I didn't pull you off the street at gunpoint and tell you, let me fix your gun.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm the asshole you had to knock on the door to ask a question about. That's who I am.
That's right. And you know, and for the most part, you know, when I was younger and you know, before I got into the gun community, the same situation that Christian was talking about is that you take it to a gunsmith or a gun shop or whatever, and they're just dicks, man. They just, you know, it's almost like they don't have the time for you. and or your project isn't worth their time, or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened to me when I was younger. I had my first rifle I got was a Ruger 1022, and I just wanted a stock put on it. Okay, well, I went to the store to buy the stock, and I was going to have the guy put the stock on right there. That guy wanted to charge me $50 to put that stock on, and I was like, I'm buying the stock from you. You think that would just be a courtesy, It's two screws. And he wanted to charge me. $50 to put that stock on, and I was like, you know what? I'll just do it myself.
Oh,
And so that kind of and over the years, I look back at that situation, and I didn't want to be that guy. Okay, and I tried to be nice to the customers and try to do what I can for them, and next thing I know, I'm realizing that no matter how hard I try to be that way, I'm winding up like the guy that told me $50.
And I don't. Right. So let me just comment on one thing. So Chris and I have a similar history. I did wedding photography and video for 20 years. And like one lens was $2,000, and I'd carry a couple of lenses around with me, and I'd have to change lens, wide angle and all that bit. And somebody's like, hey, there's a wedding this weekend. I know you're not doing anything. Will you do it for half price? Like, yeah, all right, I would have stayed home anyhow. Let me make some money as opposed to no money. And on that job,
when they asked me a half price, just this.
Well, it was a studio I've had a relationship with. I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll do the job. And I'm changing a $2,000 lens, and I got one lens in one hand. I'm reaching in my tuxedo pocket for the other lens. It slips and rolls out of my pocket. I squat down and I pat it. I didn't grab it. I bounced it in the air. And I blindly, again, reaching from behind, I grabbed the lens, and I'm like, that's the last time I'm doing a budget job. F that. Because my time and my tools and my experience are worth money. And there's a minimum amount of money I'm walking out the door for.
Yes.
No, absolutely. And, one of the problems being a gunsmith is you get all these jackwads who, oh, I'm retired. I need something to do. So I'm going to do gunsmithing, and I'm going to charge $250 an hour, and not $250 an hour, $2.50.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, well, and customers come in. Well, my buddy can do it for $3.
Name that
take it to your goddamn buddy then.
So Mako can paint your car for $300, but you're going to sit here and say, well, I don't like the way that their paint looks, so I'm going to come to a real shop and say, can you paint it for the same price?
Yeah.
But have it look like a professional job.
Yeah.
No.
Here, I'll paint it with a roller.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Do you want clear coat or you want matte?
I will say this, though, because of that kind of attitude towards new gun owners or anybody that thinks that, oh, well, you could just do that for this and that. In terms of what Chris's story was, if you think about it this way, it did push you to kind of think and just say, hey, fuck it, I'll just go learn and do it my goddamn self.
No, I was already trying. You got to understand, when I was 12 years old, my dad had I don't know if you ever seen the little Crossman pellet gun.
Yeah.
It was like a 357 Python.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my dad had it apart in a box up in the attic one year, and when we went up there in the attic to get the Christmas shit out, I stumbled across that box, and so I pulled it down with all the other shit, and I started asking my dad about it, and he said he couldn't get the gun back together. All right, now there's no data on an air gun. You can find them now, but back then, this was back in the 70s.
Good luck.
No internet.
Yeah, I'm 12 years old. I didn't know. I didn't know anything about it. I just thought it was interesting because it was a gun to me, so I was just interested in it. Well, my dad had taken it completely apart because the pellet had gotten stuck in there, and I said, well, Dad, can I have it? And he said, well, the gun don't work. I said, well, if I put it together, can I have it? And he said, son, if you could put that gun together, yes, you can have it. And so I stopped all Christmas shit. I just said, y'all do the Christmas stuff. Y'all put the tree up. I'm going to work on this. And so I sat that thing on the kitchen table, and I sat there for about 3 hours, and I finally got that gun back together. Okay. And when I got it back together, my dad comes up to me and says, well, the real test is when you put the CO2 cartridge in there and it don't leak. Okay. And so he next day he goes to the store and gets some CO2 cartridges for it, and he puts it in there and he tightens the little screw for it to pop the seal, and all of a sudden you hear it charge the system and it goes, and that's it. It was completely sealed. And he was like, well, I'll be damned. And so when I did that right there is what kind of got me involved in the firearms industry. And this is what most people don't know about me is I'm not a gun guy. I'm not. I don't get to see all the new stuff that comes out on the market. I could care less about the new stuff that comes out on the market. It doesn't. I'm a mechanism guy. It's what makes that gun work. Is what excites me. It's not the gun. I could care less about the gun. It's what makes it work. And to be able to put that gun together at 12 years old, and knowing that my dad had tried to do it, years before, and he literally said it had been sitting in the attic for about 3 years, and to know that I was able to get that put together, it was exciting for me, and so that kind of opened the door for me, so when I went to that one gun shop and had the issue that I had with that dealer there, I was already in the system. I was already trying to do what I wanted to do with it, and that just kind of pushed me over the edge.
Yeah, I have a similar story to that for doing what I do now, the auto body stuff. I mean, everybody assumes that because I work at a body shop, I must be a car guy. Fuck a fucking car. I hate them. But you know what? I found an interest in fixing them and, making them look pretty again, and I became great at it. I can match colors. I can paint cars, like showroom paint jobs, fix them straight as an arrow. I've worked on cars from the 30s all the way up to, now. And I mean, there's really nothing I can't do on a car now because I've been doing it so long and I just have a knack for it. But, when I was a little kid, there was a guy down the road from me who used to do side jobs in his garage. I mean, he also worked full time as a body man, and, but, everybody has to make ends meet or wants extra money. So he used to do side jobs. So me as a little kid, I used to ride my bicycle around, and if I saw him in his garage, he'd be like, hey man, what are you doing? And every time I seen him in there, hey man, what are you doing? Until one day he goes, well, come on in and I'll show you what I'm doing. And then he started teaching me stuff. And then I went to trade school, and then eventually here I am 30 years later, still working and doing it. But, I mean,
thinking, what the fuck did I do?
Right. Yeah. It's like once you get stuck there, you're stuck, but that's why, I think because now I'm just so over it after 30 years of doing it, and it's too repetitive for me now. That's why I think another reason why I've kind of been drawn into, going into the gunsmithing thing, because it's something new and exciting to me, and it's something I haven't done. So now I'm getting to play with new little parts and pieces and trying them out and fixing them and making them work, and making them pretty again.
Yeah. So, well, I definitely took the.
Can we wish good night to Rich? Just saying.
Night, Rich.
Night, Rich. Yeah, thanks for coming on, Rich.
Thank God you're leaving. Oh, did I say that out loud?
I'm gonna have the quiet part. No, I think he went off, so you're good.
Yeah, I was just going to say we're coming up on the 2 hour mark, so we'll probably end it here shortly. But go ahead and finish what you were saying.
I definitely took the long route in doing gunsmithing work. I actually drove a tractor trailer for 20-some years, and I was moonlighting gunsmithing on the side from there. So I mean, it was definitely the long way around. Most of my machining I learned from a retired Norfolk Naval Shipyard machinist who retired 40 years out. I mean, there wasn't a thing that man couldn't machine, and I sat in his garage, damn near day in and day out. I mean, I heard it from my wife numerous times. I spend more time over there than I did at home. And but I mean, the stuff that he taught me was just invaluable. I mean, I probably use that more in this shop now than anything else. And it's an education that you would never get in a classroom.
Right.
And so the one thing, and this is probably the main reason why, I try to help out people as much as I can, is because the one thing that he said to me when it was all said and done is he said, man, he says, I don't want you to pay me to come in here and learn this. He says, I just want you to pass it along. And so that's what I do. I just try to pass the information as best I can to the next generation. And my kids know how to use the machines in here. My youngest son, actually, you're talking about cars and stuff. My youngest son is actually into the cars. And when he finally learned that these machines can be used to fix cars as well, he was just like, oh my God, I can use these machines too. So he got an interest in learning how to use to operate the machines as well. So, but other than that, I mean, it's, I'm just trying to learn what I can throughout the years and pick up, what any advice anyone would give me, as I was going along. So, I learned how to blue and parkerize from a guy that I used to work with. And, I mean, the information that I got from there, oh my God, it was just phenomenal. And, and of course, then once I get the basics down, then I take it from there and I put my little spin on it. And then make it my own. And so that's I've been doing this for 30 years, actually more than 30 years now, but professionally I've only been doing it for about 12. So and a lot of it I forgot. I tell you, man, I forget a lot of it. And I get guns that come in here that the customer asks me, one thing you learn in this business is that people care more about their guns than their family.
Oh yeah.
And when they go to drop their firearm off, they want to make sure that they're in the right hands. And sometimes I get a situation where customers will drop their stuff off and they look at me and they go, "Are you sure you know how to work on this gun?" And the only thing I can say to them is like, "Look, I can't remember that gun, but I'm pretty sure I've worked on it before. Not that. I've worked on a gun like that before." I said, all I need to do is take it apart. Once I get into it, I'll remember the mechanism. Okay, and then I can figure it out from there. And that's one of the things that you got to worry about too. Like I was saying earlier about being competent, is that once you understand the system, I mean, it's really not that difficult to do. It's just figuring out what makes the gun work and then building from there. So
Chris Shoemakes asks a question. He says, anybody want to recommend a gunsmithing book? Well, I mean, there's like 1.5 million of them out there, so get them all.
Yeah. Any book that you can get on the subject is worth it. I mean, I've got a bookcase of gunsmithing books in there, and and they're just reference books. It's not like I sit and read them every day.
Yeah,
right.
If it was written after 1950, don't even bother with it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, it just comes down to a point where most of the guns that I work on in here aren't even in those books.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the books themselves are really just pointless to what I need to do with them. So, but other than that, I mean, it's something that I'm also trying to change my dynamic on in here. Is that, like I said, I am a manufacturer, but I'm trying to transition from gunsmithing into manufacturing. I've been a manufacturer since I started this, but I haven't been able to manufacture.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's a hard transition to do.
Like I said, see, here's one book. I mean, and this is just on Smith & Wesson revolvers.
Yeah,
That's
he
the
does.
book right there.
Those are the only new books that I would buy.
I have the 1911 one. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Gunsmithing by Howe.
Yep.
I think it was written in the 20s. Great book.
Gunsmith Kinks, the volumes that Brownells makes, they're pretty good.
I've never liked those.
They do.
They're okay. I mean, they give you little tips and tricks and things like that. And for the most part, I mean, it's no more than what you're doing in your shop, trial and error.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing the same thing that person did back then, and you know, I mean, you got to take into consideration too that a lot of the material that you buy, or a lot of the books that you buy now, it's like Rich was saying, if it isn't made before 1950, it's really pointless. I mean, you get books now that talk about hardening. I mean, the metals that are used today don't go through the same process of hardening that they went through 100 years ago.
Yep.
Okay, the metals aren't the same 100 years ago, and so it's just different. And you know, to learn it, now it's not to say that you shouldn't know it. Okay, you should at least know what was going on back in the early 20s and the late 1800s. That just makes, like I said, it just makes you a better, well-rounded gunsmith.
Right. Yeah.
And because when I harden springs in here, you know, you only get one chance to make a spring. That's it.
Yeah.
If it's a V spring, it's either a spring or it ain't.
And you find out real quick which one it is.
Exactly. And you know, you take into consideration now, I mean, Brownell sells, you know, they sell spring material now that, you know, it hardens very simply, it anneals easily. And, you know, back in the day, you had to literally add the carbon to the metal and heat it up and then, you know, make it to where it was a hardened piece of steel and then draw it back. And if you didn't do it right, well, you didn't have nothing. You just had a piece of wire that you spent all day on. So, and now
I actually I want to take what you was just saying and expand on it a little and tie back into where y'all was talking about them Cabot guns a while back, where they made them. I think it was $1 or $2 million pair of handmade Damascus guns.
Yeah.
Everybody went nuts about it. That technique is how things was originally done in the very first place. And now them original hand done methods has become so far removed from what is commonplace that has become something that like became worldwide known, and everybody was like awed by it.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you know, a lot of that stuff, Damascus steel, color case hardening, you know, it was done back in the day and then everybody forgot about it. In the 80s, what guns were color case hardened? Nothing. You know, and now, oh my God, everybody and their mother's doing color case hardening.
I'd love to learn how to do it. Just like
things
for my personal
rotating.
Uses. Like stuff like that. Like I'd love to learn how to do it or have a chance to like try it out on something. Just to say like, okay, I learned how to do this. I'm not really that good at it, but I've done it before. I understand how to do that.
I'll just send it to Turnbull and let him do it.
I'm gonna call for. I'm calling for its customer finishing. Hey, you guys got.
I've actually cheated on it. Because I have. You ever heard of that Niter Blue?
Yep.
Okay, I actually cheat using Niter Blue because I will take it and go to the hottest temperature, get it all blue, and then take it out and then sand a little bit off of it, and then plug it back in and get it yellows and get it reds and just different colors all over it.
Yeah,
not reds but browns, and it gives you a what we call a niter case coloring. Yeah, and it works. It looks really good, and so. But that's cheating. That's and you can like flame coloring it. You know, people. People will take a torch and do a case coloring look with just the torch. Yeah, so it's kind of the same process, but it's all cheating. It's not really. I mean, you got to remember too that case coloring was done by accident. That wasn't really what they were trying to do. They didn't start that way. So when they were hardening the metal, that's when they found out that the
Wow, that's pretty cool looking.
they were using the charcoal and the burn, and it just came out with these brilliant colors in there, and they were like, "Holy shit, this is really neat. Let's keep doing this." And so that's when it came out to be that. And so, but yeah, I mean, case coloring was generally just a hardening process.
Yep. It just happened to turn out looking cool.
Yep, and that's why it was usually on the actual receiver. Which, of course, talking about the cheating and stuff. Now they have the gels that you can use to make that colored effect without even needing to heat it up at all.
Mhm.
Which really, if you don't know what you're doing and you're trying to do an actual case hardened colored, then you're messing with the temper and the temperatures of that metal and stuff. And if you don't do it right, you really can mess that up. Whereas these like faux finishes, you can get that same look for the look of it without affecting the function of the gun at all.
Well, it goes back to with the Cabot guns. I mean, those Damascus steel slides, those slides are hard as fuck.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to remember, they're folding that metal and pounding it in and folding it and pounding it and folding and pounding. I mean, that metal becomes dense and it's hard to machine. And and that's a lot of why those guns are so expensive, is because the machining process that it takes to go in, of course, the time it takes to make them damn things.
Yeah.
That's what you're paying for.
Yep.
You're paying for that time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make the gun any better. That slide is not going to be any better than a standard 1911 slide that's on the market. It just looks better. And that's it. That's all you're paying for.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
And at that point, you're paying for a piece of functional art.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
No matter how you look at it.
Because the cost. Yeah.
Yeah, no matter how you look at it, gunsmithing is art, period.
Yep.
Yep.
It is.
That's what got me into it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you got to learn about metal. When you're heating it, you're changing the molecular structure of it. Anytime you do anything with it, whether it's pounding on it with a hammer or heating it with a torch, you're changing something about it. If you overdo it, you're work hardening it and making it brittle. If you underdo it, it's too soft. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things you have to know going into it about what you're doing to get it right where you want it. So. It's definitely an art form. It's a skill. It's a trade, and not everybody is up for that. So that's why it takes certain individuals to get into it and do it.
I'll take it. I'll fucking take it, especially if something that won't blow up in my face. So, I'd rather trust somebody with 20, 50 years making all sorts of weird, cool stuff.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's like Chris mentioned earlier. At the end of the day, you're having an explosion just not a foot away from your face.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
surprise.
I love it.
So I'm always leery when I test fire a gun, man.
I did that the other day.
Together, and I'm like, fire one into the ground just to make sure it's not going to explode.
That's where you're doing the over the hood test.
Uh-huh.
You go outside on your car, you put it over the hood.
I was test firing my 320 I just built that JSD makes, and I was in the booth at my range, and I was like, and you could I'd love to see the camera footage, because like I'm in the booth and you can see my hand going like this. And I'm like,
I'm not sure.
And I'm leaning over a little bit, trying to aim. And I'm like, okay, so even if it blows back, it's gonna just whiz past me, not directly in the You go through that when you build guns.
You're already braver
You're
than I am.
supposed to do it left-handed and kind of
That's what I do. I just kind of look this way and aim it towards the ground and pull it. I don't even look at the gun. I'm just like, if it goes bang, and then I'll look at it and see if it's cycled, and I'm like, okay, I'm good.
So you're saying I'm just dumb for doing that?
No, I'm saying brave. You're brave.
You're brave. Okay, I'm beautiful and brave.
Beautiful and brave.
He is beautiful as a fluffernutter sandwich.
That's what the Joe juice is for.
Oh man, I ain't had one of those in a while. Now you're making me hungry.
Listen, Fluffernutter is a Massachusetts staple. Okay, like he would understand because he's from Mass.
Me and my wife were talking about that earlier because like nobody knows what it is, and I live down in Virginia now, and you say fluff to somebody, and they're like, "What the hell is that?"
As a Miamian, I have no idea what the fuck your dudes are.
Oh, bro, you're missing
I have
out.
no idea what it is.
Yeah, you guys are
Butter
missing
and
out.
Fluff, man. Oh my god, just
I hear fluffer
perfect
nutter, and I'm
combination.
like, what the fuck is that?
It's some good shit, man.
Some sex thing.
Yep. It can be used that way.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. So
This is not that kind of podcast.
I think we detracted a little bit.
Just
about
gonna
those.
throw that out there.
Rod from Ages is like, what the fuck am I sponsoring?
This podcast is now fun smithing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We've made it interesting.
It's like, how many times do I gotta build something to be like, was this gonna blow up my face?
Mm.
Mm.
You know, that's the thing. I know that when I build something, it's not going to blow up. That's where you got to be confident in yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah,
that's
when-
with like every kind of profession. Like
Especially when I build a machine gun and you know I have to test it for the first time, and it could be a piece of shit parts build where I've got pieces of metal that have been you know torch cut, and they've got a gap in it this wide, and I've literally spanned it with a bridge just to put it together to kind of give me an equation of where this length is supposed to be at, and then I just do a single shot on it just to make sure it'll fire.
Yep.
And it's just got a little bridge of metal holding this piece together. Okay.
Been there, done that.
Honestly, though, Chris, the one thing I did
would not
will say,
recommend doing that, but in the event, when yes, we have to make sure that we are confident in what we do, just because we know that there is an explosion taking place.
Yep.
Well,
All I was
would
gonna
say
say
that's
is that
about
was
like
all-
every profession, like when you get at a certain degree. So when people call themselves a gunsmith, I would say that's a very incredibly high level to reach. You know, not a lot of people just call themselves gunsmiths when really a lot of them are tinkerers. A lot of them are just people that throw a fucking rail on a fucking AR or something, and it's like
built
that's
not
one thing.
bought.
And it's like me as a photographer and a drone pilot. It's like you have to have that high level of confidence in what you're trying to put out. Like me as a drone pilot, I'm flying next to fucking people, cars, a bunch of shit. One wrong move, I'm flying into some shit and I'm blowing up somebody's car and killing somebody.
Yeah.
So I feel you on that.
One wrong move, you're flying rich.
Well, I mean, at the same time, I'm not flying myself. I just fly a drone, so it's not as bad. And so I will say that, and I feel like that's one thing that kind of gets kind of lost is what is the real definition of a gunsmith. You know, I feel like, especially as the gun culture as it is gunsmith really, I would say it's almost an ancient term. I would almost argue it's an ancient term because you won't find anybody that does. You won't find as many. I'm sorry, not anyone. You won't find as many that are dedicated to that craft as you gentlemen are, or several others that maybe don't post as much because a lot of their content online is currently banned, or just they don't feel like fucking putting it up.
Yeah,
and it's so unfortunate because honestly, me as a person, I love that shit. On a mechanical level, I love that shit. On a physics level, I love all of that shit. And it's just so fucking hard to find, and it's so hard to cultivate in others. I mean, I managed to get one of my cousins who, he started getting into guns and shit. And I came in a little rough about it, and I was like, oh man, you should try this, blah, 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 blah. And I was an idiot because I didn't realize that, people have their own little safety space. And in that safety space, they see things as is, and the final result as compared to this big fucking journey, okay, that you have to go through to get there.
Yeah,
that's a very cool.
Well, okay. Well, there you go, Chris. You remember that KP-44 that you shot? That was mine at the range. All right. I mean, that gun was pieces when I got it. It was just pieces. And
really? That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and so we had to physically put that gun and weld it together, And because of how thin that metal was, the metal just constantly kept shifting. And it was crazy. I mean, it was a pain in the ass to get the metal to stay straight. And so when I finally got it to where it would straighten up, I just stopped welding on it. And it just, the gun isn't the prettiest thing, but it is so functioning, and it is probably one of my favorite ones. So
I will say that thing was the coolest experience, finally firing one. Like I said, I'm a big historian fan. I have a huge fascination for all sorts of firearms, especially back then, especially Soviet era firearms. That's something that a lot of people don't get to appreciate. And I feel bad for everyone not able to even get a handle of that fucking thing and not understand what it took to get there. I mean, not only through your steps of getting it out there on the range and safe for everybody that you feel confident others can handle it without it, popping or whatever bullshit happening. But it's definitely a level of like expertise, a high level of expertise that you have to go through an incredible amount of failures, an incredible amount of challenges and shit that you have to like fight through. And I hate to say it, this shit is not for everybody. I will say it as myself, as a prior fucking polishing machinist and shit. I used to work on like super fancy fucking elevators and shit, doing polishing and metal finishes and all sorts of crap. And I was like, oh man, this is stupid. This is whack. Getting more into it, I started realizing, whoa, the potential of this is just out there. There's so much shit you can learn about it, so much things you can advance on it, And it's like people don't appreciate those things. They don't. It's like every time I walk in a fucking elevator, I'm looking around, I'm looking at the finish, I'm looking at the grains, I'm looking at the lines, I'm looking at how they did everything. And it's like not everybody has an appreciation for that. And it's so sad to see sometimes, because a lot of this, again, the culture is instant gratification.
Right.
Yeah. Instant gratification.
And it takes a maker to appreciate things like that, like you mentioned, the wood grain on something, or this type of finish, or even being able, or noticing or appreciating a really good looking weld or fine machine work. Like there's people that they'll pay $500 for a spinny top, because it was hand machined and stuff and made with all these different materials and stuff, and it's mostly folks that is in that field that can appreciate the work and the skill that went into making that and taking things full circle, like Chris was mentioning about that gun that he just made that you said was so awesome and stuff. That level of skill from the welding takes it a step above what a professional welder, say at a shipyard or a pipe fitter or something like that, would be doing. They ain't gonna have to be worrying about that thing constantly twisting and shifting and all of that stuff. You only got to worry about keeping your temperature right that first time you're making it.
Only get the final product, and that's a big concern that I have with a lot of the shit that's going out there. Because you know what, honestly, you know what I would have fucking watched from you, Chris? I would have definitely watched a whole how-to video from start to fucking finish, how you got that PPSH out to the range. Shit like that. Honestly, I love that.
I haven't taken the PPSH out there. I do have one, but I didn't take it out there.
I'm sorry.
Which PPSH?
I was talking about the KP44.
KP44. Holy shit. I don't know. I keep fucking that up. I don't know. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Yeah. I mean, I've actually thought about doing a video about it. The only problem is that because of ATF regulations, I can't video everything. So
really,
yeah.
I'm ignorant to it. I'm actually curious.
Well, we can't show you how to build it.
Yeah.
Okay, really? So it's we can show you bits and pieces of it, but we can't show you how to build it. So it's because it's a machine gun.
Right.
Hoff
put out
a video the other day. I don't know if it was today or the other day. I just watched it on just installing a rivet on an Uzi. Like, I was like mesmerized. I was like, oh wow, this is cool.
Just get a bigger fucking hammer.
Yeah. But like something as small as that, like that, you would think someone that doesn't you like, oh man, my gun's screwed or something like that. They got to replace something like a extractor or ejector, whatever it was. That was so interesting, and I'm just saying, man, the camera quality on that video alone, I was like, man, that's the best camera quality I've seen on a how-to thing. But like,
Those were iPhones.
I know it's amazing. But I enjoyed so much watching stuff like that, which kind of got me into gunsmithing originally because like I always thought it was kind of an art form to begin with, making guns like look a certain way, whether they're finishes or building guns. Like it just became artistic to me. But I'm with you though, Chris, because like I love seeing people like start to finish, like how do you build something, like how it starts from a receiver and then you machine the barrel. And
I want to see it from a block of metal straight to the fucking range of fire.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that. And you were, I wasn't able to let you shoot it this past time because I did take my Thompson out there.
I saw it.
My Thompson was an 80% receiver. And it was I originally got it. Oh God, it was probably back in the early 90s, I think it was. And the funny thing is I got him to put the serial number on that receiver that was the same as my parts kit. So it kind of everything matches.
There you go.
So
That's
it's
awesome.
kind of cool. But the cool thing about it is that, like I said, it was an 80% receiver. And so I had to machine the whole thing out. And I had no book at all on this gun.
No references?
I had no reference at all. I just had to go based off of the bolt and know that the way the bush lock system was in there, I had to make it so that it would work in this system. I had no way of knowing. And the funny thing is that most people don't realize, excuse me, that the Thompson is actually an open bolt gun, but it does have a hammer and a firing pin. Whereas most of your open bolt guns is just a little nipple on the bolt face. Okay, so when you machine it out, you have to make sure that you machine it out just enough so that when the bolt actually closes, that hammer will hit the front of the receiver, smacking the firing pin and setting it off.
Yep.
Okay, so I had no references on that. I had to figure that shit out. So, and that's kind of, I guess in a way that kind of separates the gunsmith from anyone else. I mean, it's I can't explain it to you. I don't know how to tell you to do it. I just know that it needs to be done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to explain that kind of thing. It's that's, I don't know. That's how you do it.
So forgive my ignorance on something because I'm actually very curious because I didn't know about that. So in terms of so I'm assuming that when you're trying to make any sort of machine gun at all, you can't film how to make it. And is that strictly for?
Well, you can. I mean, you can film some parts of it. You just can't film the complete making of. Okay, anything like okay, let's say your parts kits that can be a semi-auto. Okay, if you're showing how to convert it from a semi to a full auto, then okay, that's what they don't want you to show.
Okay, but let's say out of the box an MG42, wild example.
Well, there was no original semi version.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So what I'm asking is, could you make? Let's say you get one chopped down, everything else, and you reassemble.
Okay, you can show like welding it together. Okay, you can show when you go to put the bolt in, make sure that the roller, because you got guide rods on the side of it, and then you got the rollers on the bolt that go through. You can show how make sure that it rolls through there easily. You can show all that. You can show the assembly of it. I mean, there's some aspects of it. I mean, I don't see any videos out there where they're showing the trigger mechanism, which basically it's an open bolt gun anyway.
Yeah.
So it's a really gray area. Go ahead,
Chris. There's no rules that ATF says, well, you can't show this, but if you do, you get a knock on your door.
Mm-hmm.
We would like to talk to you about this video you did. We really don't like that out there.
Yeah.
It's like when I did my video on converting an AR-15 to an M16. I talked about the whole process, how you do it, what you got to do. I included no dimensions at all. And that's what kept ATF off my back, because somebody can't watch my video and do it.
Right.
They've got to go through and find the dimensions. It's not hard to find, but And I have people in the comments, well, what are the dimensions? It's like, I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, Fed boy.
Yeah.
Google will
Let me get
tell
this
you.
straight. You won't-
I mean, you've gone through my Instagram and saw some of the pictures or the postings that I've done of me putting together a parts kit. Okay, and most of it is just a picture based step by step. I never did a video. For one, I forget to do video. A lot of the time, I just forget to do pictures.
Yeah.
So
It's a pain in the ass.
I'm just busy and I just forget to do it. And so, and I just, if I don't have the before shot, I guess it's something, I guess it's my OCD, I guess. I don't know. If I don't have the before shot, I don't want to do an end shot.
Yeah.
Because you can't get a visual of the whole process. So, and
I
that's
would ask, because there are other schemes that are kind of coming out. I met with the founder of Utreon, I think it's called.
Yeah.
SwampTalk and I are fairly familiar with it, and a couple others. Let's say they were to create some sort of network and all that, so that way you could facilitate those kind of resources for others that are considering gunsmithing.
Mhm.
Would you invest your time, effort, everything else to try to cultivate them? Both you and Hoff and Silver.
Well, I mean,
Yes and no.
Yeah, it would depend. Go ahead, Rich.
I'm doing videos on gunsmithing. I'm concentrating on the Uzi stuff, the stuff that I do all the time. But I can't sit there and do videos all day. They're down and dirty videos.
Right.
I shoot it once in, 10 minutes and I post it. If people don't like it, screw them. I got to make a living, and the videos aren't paying.
So I would ask you this: if, let's say, this Utreon stream did pay, would that incentivize you guys?
If I could make the same amount of money doing a video as I could doing my paying jobs, who gives a shit which one you do?
Exactly.
Fine, I'll do videos 3 days a week, and I'll do gunsmithing, 2 days a week.
I mean,
or 3 days a week.
Yeah, you got to take into consideration that in some situations we get in here, a lot of it is diagnosing. I mean, we really don't know what's wrong with the gun yet, and we could spend a couple of hours trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Nobody wants to see that. I mean, that's just brainwashing. I mean,
I totally agree. I'm just trying to poke at the question of, say this scheme. Let's say YouTube wasn't as fucking liberal as it is, and you were to actually get paid by advertisers to make content and such. What would kind of push you guys towards doing so? Like, let's say for example, this Utreon thing pays, good, or at least decent, or at least enough to pay the lights, pay the bills.
If I was working on the exact same thing the whole time.
Well, I mean, what I mean is, like, you could do, every couple of weeks, nothing consistent, crazy consistent, something to try to cultivate and trying to like influence a bit of the gun culture as it is what I'm
okay. Well, all right, there you go. Okay, I build a lot of AKs in here. All right, I know I build ARs, but I build a lot of AKs also. All right, and I would be glad to do videos of AKs. And there's so many different variations of an AK, and I mean even though I can't tell one country of origin on an AK from another, I will make it however way it needs to be.
Yeah.
And country of origin on an AK is irrelevant to me. I could care less. All right, if the customer wants them to have a Hungarian gas block with a damn Belgian sight block, I will put that shit on there.
And a Polish receiver.
And I can't tell the difference between the two. It doesn't matter to me. I just put the shit on. And
one's the same as the next.
Exactly. And mechanically the guns are all the same.
Yeah.
And so it comes down to basically cosmetic at this point. It's what the customer wants it to look like, and so from in that particular scenario, yes, okay, I could do videos of that because there's a lot involved in building an AK, and you can see the progress and how it goes, and just doing a side folder versus an under folder is a completely different build. Okay, so just that alone is interesting. Just to be able to do that.
Yeah, that two of the guns I really want to build. I want to build a nice bolt gun, and I want to build an AK. Like I said, I put together plenty of ARs. They're fun and all, but there's nothing really challenging about it anymore. So,
I'm sure we've all gone through enough parts.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I put together ARs too, but this is how my ARs come in. All right,
yeah,
so
I don't get them like that.
Okay, this is how I get them. I put all my information on it. There you can see there's my name and everything right there.
Yep.
And then there's my logo right there. Okay, so I actually machine out the lowers. And, so I will finish machining them out, and then I will custom fit the lowers and the uppers together. So there's a nice snug fit to those two pieces. And then I just build it into whatever I need it to be. And so,
see, I cheat. I just buy Aero Precision.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I mean, one of the issues that I had in here with the customers is that they would come in and they would buy a baseline model, DPMS or Smith & Wesson or hell, Palmetto State. They would just buy your basic model AR, $799, $899, whatever the price is at the time. And then they would bring all these aftermarket parts to put on this gun, and then with my services, they've putting this thing together. They've spent $1,400.
Yep.
And so I literally said, "Why didn't you just buy it that way?" So I was like, you know what? I'm going to build them that way. And so all the guns, all the ARs that I build have all high end parts on them.
Yeah.
When you buy one of my ARs, you don't have to put anything else on it.
Yeah, see, I haven't bought a pre-built AR. I've always just made my own. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I have one pre-built, and that was given to me. So, but all the rest I've put together myself with parts that I've bought. Frankenstein them together, and that's how I've done them. But I mean, to me, especially the very first AR I've ever owned, I had a lot of parts donated to me by friends, and I bought a blank Aero Precision set and just put everything together from there. And I mean, that first one I built was probably the nicest one I have.
Right.
I'm gonna have, not wanting to cut y'all off or whatever. This has been a great show, but we already been over 2.5 hours now, so I'm gonna cut this episode. But y'all are definitely welcome to come back on. I think that all of us would be interested in continuing this conversation, and I know the viewers a few people have mentioned in being interested in some more gunsmith specific talks and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll go ahead and go around the room and let y'all go ahead and do your plugs, mention who y'all are, where people can find you, and we'll go ahead and start with Shooting Gallery New England.
Well, guys, honestly, Cody, appreciate you having me on. I was really happy to be on this panel. But you guys can find me on YouTube, Utreon, any type of form of social media, Shooting Gallery, any. We're on TikTok, we're on Patreon, you name it, we're around here. Check us out on Facebook and all that good stuff. So, yeah, like, share, and subscribe.
Awesome. And now we'll take it to X7 Studios.
Thanks for letting me on here, guys. As someone that's honestly a very avid shooter, I've been shooting for so many fucking years. I'm not a gunsmith by any means. I'm a tinkerer. Okay, I just put parts kits together, so I guess I'm cool.
Hipster.
I like to kind of offer at least just my, somewhat small opinion on, gun culture, gun tubes, everything in terms of social media and how the general public kind of like perceives firearms as a whole. So I'm glad I was able to speak to you guys and learn quite a bit because I feel like we all learned something together. You guys can follow me on Instagram. It's X7_studios. You have to type the whole thing out because Instagram does not like me. Yeah, they just don't like me. And yeah, I got some drone videos coming up pretty soon. Just some cool shit, and then more gun shooting videos. And yeah, stay tuned.
Are you going to be at the March Makers Match?
Yes, I will. I'm also going to be at another competition. I keep forgetting the name. It's like something Tampa. I don't remember. So I'll rep Tusk there too and get some decent video and some drone shit. And,
Awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun hanging out with y'all.
And then Silverback.
Yeah. Well, all right. You can find me on YouTube at Gorillas and Guns. I'm on Odyssey, Gorillas and Guns, Utreon, which I don't have any subscribers on Utreon yet, but I created my account directly that same evening that you, Swamp Dog, did the podcast with the guy from Utreon. Been on there, subscribed to a bunch of people, but I got no subs there yet.
I'll subscribe to you right now, Scott.
Yeah, I'll subscribe.
Well, I'm gonna go make an account just to sub to you, dude.
Hey, thank you. You can find me on Facebook. I got the Gorillas and Guns group on Facebook. I have a Patreon. I don't really push that too much. I mean, if people want to go over there and put down a couple bucks a month for me, that's great. You know, if not, I don't really care. It's there if you want. But yeah, that's it. I just make gun videos. I do a lot of stupid shit, and apparently there's a lot of people who like watching me do stupid shit because I got a few followers, so it's cool. I have fun doing it, and I'm glad to be here. This has been a great discussion, and yeah, I'd definitely like to get more input from Chris and Rich as far as like the manufacturing aspect of things goes. If I can get you guys contact information, I definitely want to get into that area a little bit more.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. I definitely second that too. And on that note, let's take it to the hall.
You can reach me at email is richard@bwefirearms.com. Website's bwefirearms.com. And I'm on most of the social medias. Just put in BWE Firearms and I'll come up.
Awesome. And last but not least, Chris from Mad Custom Arms.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. I really enjoyed this conversation. I'm not really good with the computer stuff, so I don't have a lot of areas to go to. You can reach me at cbakergunsmith@gmail.com or Instagram at Mad Custom Arms or Facebook at Mad Custom Arms.
Yeah, I just want to give a big thank you to all y'all for coming on here. Y'all really did bring some insight and knowledge that I think was really helpful to the people in the audience. And as Christian mentioned, I think that most, if not all of us, even picked up a few things from each other just from this conversation as well. And I'd like to once again extend an invitation to y'all to come back on anytime that y'all would like to. I want to give a big thank you to y'all. Yeah, I want to give a big thank you to all y'all out there in the chat. Thanks for watching. Make sure y'all hit that like button on the way out if you ain't already done it. And as Ting Ting mentioned, I will put everybody's contact information, their YouTube channels, email, all that stuff in the description once the replay goes up. I'll probably have it updated tomorrow afternoon.
Cool.
Hell yeah.
And on that note, I'm going to say y'all be good and thanks for watching. Catch us next week for the newest episode of Swamp Talk.
Yep. Y'all take care.
Be safe.
Y'all have a